The Pirate Journey of Arceus. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401 White Town Frevens. However, in Yamato's eyes, the difference between the so-called trial and play is not very big. No matter how dangerous the trial is, it is not as dangerous as her biological father. As time goes by, Kaido's training intensity is also increasing little by little. It can be said that a special training is often stuck on the line of death by Kaido. Although she can't die, she can experience the feeling of being on the verge of death. That is the murderous aura that Kaido has earned after fighting on the battlefield, fighting on Rock's ship, and witnessing and participating in many confrontations between monsters and naval elites. That murderous intent is completely different from the domineering color domineering. Even when Yamato was locked by Kaido's murderous intent for the first time, she felt fear in her heart. Arceus will stop Kaido's extraordinary behavior, but knowing that there will be no danger to his life does not mean that he will not be afraid. But such training also has a little benefit. In a sense, she seems very fearless. Well, where should we go? We have been to the West Sea. My foster father said that the New World and Paradise are too dangerous. Mariah, Robin, do you have any opinions? Looking at the atlas in front of him and scratching his head, Yamato still hasn't decided where to go. The danger was relative to what he said. This time was different from the previous one. Arceus did not intend to take action unless he encountered a life-threatening crisis. In fact, it was enough to let Akada follow him casually. Jack was safely handed over to Mandafesh. He was not even a disaster level Kada, but there was still a big difference between the adopted daughter and the Kada reserve. He did not intend to take action, which did not mean that he would not go. However, if she chose an island to sail in the New World, her own territory would be meaningless. The probability of a crisis in the heart of the beasts was infinitely close to zero. If she went to someone else's territory, Yamato would not be able to cope with it now. Although she was already much stronger than her peers, she still had a long way to go before she could really grow up. The most ideal activity area was the Four Seas, where she might encounter troubles, but the intensity would be more appropriate. At the beginning, she chose the range of the Four Seas. I can do whatever you like. Mariah did not express her opinion on this matter at all. She massaged Frost Milk Fairy by herself. For her, it was the same wherever she went. Me too. If possible, it would be best to go to a place related to ancient ruins. In fact, Robin did have some goals, but based on her understanding of Yamato, she would not be interested in those countries. After all, there are mostly things like archaeology and document research there. Although Ohara in the West Sea is a holy place for archaeology, there are archaeological sites all over the world. They may not be as good as Ohara in some aspects, but they also have their own unique features. However, this is Yamato's trial, and she is just passing by. I'm so entangled. I don't know where to go. When I look at the map, looking at the names of the islands, Yamato tried to choose a more pleasing name, but they all looked the same. I remember that there are some introductions to the customs of the world in the documents of the new Tree of All Knowledge. Why don't you go there and take a look? In the derived huge vines, the surviving scholars of Ohara established a new library. The reason why the name of the past was continued was just a kind of nostalgia. As Robin said, Ohara, which stores data and documents from all over the world, also has some research on world geography, which is also part of history. Good idea. Let's go. Yamato was a man of action, so he took them to find a resting Millennium Dragon and came to the small island in the sky. Robin was very familiar with those books and materials. After talking to the people inside, she came to the third floor. Arms grew out of the bookshelf and several picture books were taken down soon. That should be it. If you are not interested in the West Sea, most of the island records in the East Sea, South Sea, and North Sea are in it. The atlas was very comprehensive, but Yamato overlooked a problem. This was the document of the History Museum, not Morgan's newspaper, and since coming here, this kind of document has not been supplemented. So the latest of these atlases is a few years ago. Time will not stop. As time goes by, every island is undergoing tremendous changes. For example, the record of Krakana Island in some documents is still the Mist Island, but now it has gradually disappeared due to the war, and the number of baboons on the island is increasing day by day. The fairyland country Frevens, the ground and trees in the country, are as pure and white as the ice and snow country in the fairy tale world. A country that is as beautiful as a fairyland on earth is good. I have decided to go here. Looking at the photos in the atlas, Yamato decided on the first target of this trip, the Frevens kingdom known as the White Town. Frevens? Has she decided? Yes. Is there any problem? Kaido asked a rare extra question after hearing Yamato's decision to go to the destination. Some information that Ammonite overheard before. The distance from here to Frevens. According to the route you set, if nothing unexpected happens, you should not see the fairyland. But hell. Kaido handed Arceus a piece of intelligence, which was the world government's evacuation plan for the Frevens royal family. If it were not for special circumstances, the royal family would not choose to leave their country. This kind of thing means that disaster is coming. Let that girl see the reality of the world. You've protected her too well. I think you should have let her see what hell is like a few years ago. As it turned out, Kaido still thought that Yamato's training was a bit too lenient. She will rebel if you do that. Children should not be pushed too hard. She's already very good now. Whatever you want. By the way, since it's Frevens, bring back another batch of platinum lead. This stuff has become more and more expensive on the black market recently. I'm afraid it will be more difficult to get it later. Platinum lead is an important mineral in Frevens. It is a special lead, or in the earth's crust. This kind of platinum lead can not only be used to produce tabloid, paint, sweet seasoning, and cosmetics, but also an important raw material for some weapons. The lead bullets made of this platinum lead can be said to be quite high quality ammunition. Even Wano country cannot find a substitute for that kind of platinum lead. Originally, they planned to send a carder to go there. Since Yamato has decided on Frevens, they can just do it together. I understand. I'll go and deal with the 9 snakes first. The 3-year period has almost come to an end. Since it was 3 years, it is natural to send them back now. This matter is also related to the rest of life of most members of the 100 Beasts. Chapter 402 Return to the 9 Snakes. The robbery of the celestial dragons did cause a lot of noise. With a lot of energy invested, they seemed to have caught Prilt's tail, but they only caught the tail. The other party was just like a lizard, who cut off his tail to survive, and fled to an unknown place. Some people suspected that this identity was an imposter, but all the witnesses at the scene saw the same situation, and even captured his figure on some subsequent routes. Even the ship and the flag were described in great detail. On an island in the New World, the wreckage of the ship suspected to be burned was even found. The evidence is very sufficient, but no one can be caught. In addition, the celestial dragons also have a characteristic. Although most of the celestial dragons have the poor quality of human nature, these guys are very careless in some cases. Although they kept urging them to catch the robber at the beginning, they forgot about it in a blink of an eye. So the matter has returned to the original state. The world government is still searching for Prilt, but it has not invested so much energy. Now it is not a problem to let them return to the 9 snakes. In the room on Onigashima, Alga had already told them about this in advance. They would be sent back to 9 Snake Island with Yamato's voyage, but some people didn't seem to want to leave. Sister, we should go. Yes, sister, it's been 3 years, and everyone in 9 Snake will be worried. Marigold and Asonia were comforting Hancock. In fact, she was also in a tangled stage. She wanted to stay here, but she was born a 9 Snake, and missed 9 Snake very much. As a pirate country, Amazon Lilla's national education is relatively successful, at least in terms of national belonging. Most of the people who go out will return to 9 Snake. Even if they leave 9 Snake and live outside, they will go back to help when 9 Snake is in danger. Moreover, the Emperor of 9 Snake is more responsible for the country than some individuals. Before there is a suitable successor, the Emperor of 9 Snake will still take the responsibility of protecting the safety of 9 Snake. Even Hancock, who is as willful as she is, has compromised, such as the position of Shichibuke. according to the estimation of strength in the original time. If she insists on refusing that position, no one in Nine Snake can force her. Sander, Mary, is there any way to have the best of both worlds? Sister. This is unlikely. Although Sister Olga is also a woman, it's fine if she wants to go to Nine Snakes, but she won't agree to this. Nine Snakes are not so averse to outsiders, or to be more precise foreign women, but Olga and his daughter are both staying well in the beasts, and they obviously won't leave. It's okay, sister, at worst you can come back later, and Sister Olga often goes to Shampoo Land. You can also visit her there. Although she is a sister, Hancock is more like a younger sister to some extent, and when it comes to this, Olga also came here. Sister Olga, well, you are leaving soon. I came to give you some parting gifts. The members of the Beasts Pirates are very complicated. Even the leader of the pirate group will not have a close relationship with everyone. The 3 Hancock sisters were brought back by Olga, so it was Olga who was entrusted to maintain a good relationship with them. The 3 fruits were the fruits that originally belonged to them, but they had not been modified. Before the 9 Snakes hoisted the subordinate flag of the 100 Beasts, this kind of reward would not be their turn. The people within the 100 Beasts were still queuing up, and taking out these 3 fruits was already a huge investment. Although the type of fruit might remind people of the original Prelt, at this time, even if there was no modification, it would not arouse too much suspicion. You don't have to eat the devil fruit after getting it. You may also exchange it for money, such as Doflamingo, a good brother. Many powerful fruits flowed out of his hands, although that was not his original intention. But it backfired, and some powerful fruits usually cannot be kept. Devil fruit? Yes, Lord Arceus means that his ship will take a detour to take you back tomorrow. Then Olga seemed to see that Hancock was not happy, and then said to her, don't worry, the separation is only temporary, and I will go back with you, and there is still some time to get along. Along with the devil fruit, there was also an envelope brought over, which contained some questions about the future development of Amazon Lily. This kind of news is worthless to the beasts, but it is very important to Amazon Lily. Olga is the accompanying messenger this time, and there is also the question about the lone hero on the sea. The fact that he is still alive now is not because he is lucky or strong, but because there are more than one person who found him. Scourge and Namor almost found him one after another, and the people sent by Big Mom followed closely. Although his result will be the same, no matter who falls into his hands, it is a matter of face. So each pirate group began to gradually increase manpower, with the purpose of snatching this face. The beasts are already very familiar with the route from Wano country to Sabaody, and soon arrived at the scheduled location. Yamato and the others are revisiting the old place, and came to the Sabaody archipelago again, while Olga brought Hancock and the others to Amazon Lily. However, just after landing, Hancock and the others received an incredible news, because at this time the Empress of Amazon Lily died of illness, and the previous Emperor Shaki had left the 9 Snakes. The current 9 Snakes are temporarily in power by the previous Emperor Giruliusa. She made a lot of mistakes when she was in power, so she has been living alone in a corner of the village in a low-key manner. However, she has a very high status within the 9 Snakes, and even the Emperor of the 9 Snakes will respect her opinions on some major issues. Soon, surrounded by the 9 Snakes warriors, Giruliusa came here. Thank you for taking care of the 3 sisters in the past 3 years. The disappearance of the 3 Hancock sisters on the pirate ship was almost unacceptable to the 9 Snakes warriors, but when they found out about it, it was too late. However, not long after, they called to report their safety, but it was not until today that they knew where Hancock and the others had gone. The logo of the pirate flag on the ship was known to everyone, even in Amazon Lily, where news was inconvenient. Later, at the invitation of Giruliusa, Olga came to the 9 Snakes palace, and she also saw the letter from the beasts about the navy gradually mastering the technology to pass through the doldrums. Sorry, I was busy with something temporarily, so I will update twice today. Chapter 403, The 7 Warlords of the Sea. Has the Navy mastered this technology? In the Palace of the 9 Snakes, Giruliusa looked at Olga's letter and fell into deep thought. This technology may not matter to other people. For example, the beasts don't care about this kind of thing at all. Morgans called them the Emperors of the Sea for a gimmick, but they really deserve this title. After Morgan's hype, countless pirates tried to challenge the status of the emperor, but the result was the same. No one ever succeeded. Joining, dying, being sent to the navy in exchange for bounty, and being able to leave some parts unscathed were all considered good endings, and many people were beaten to death. They defended their territory relying on strength, but the Nine Snakes were different. They were also a pirate country. Although the Nine Snakes were not weak, they did not have the strength of the Emperor of the Sea. In particular, there was a huge gap in the strength of the senior cadres, which was something they could not compare with the Imperial group. The Nine Snakes could survive safely, and the residents on the island were not disturbed by the outside world, mainly because of the calm belt outside. This is their natural barrier. If the ancestors of the Nine Snakes had not mastered the technique of snake training, they would have had difficulty getting in and out without the help of the highly venomous sea snakes. If this barrier is really broken, it means that the era of the Nine Snakes living in seclusion is over, and the navy can attack them at will across the calm belt. Why do you know this? This should be a secret within the navy. Gililius's position in the Nine Snakes is more like a think tank, so she doesn't believe everything others say. Although this kind of early warning news will not cause them to lose anything, it does not affect her curiosity. Of course, there are special channels for this, and their Seaston is what we sell. Although Quinn is almost deified in the Navy Intelligence Department, the top brass still know the truth. The process of inlaying Seaston is not complicated. To be precise, you only need hands, but it will increase the weight of the ship. Even if Arceus didn't tell them, Quinn and Vegapunk have worked together for so long that he can guess this. And because the cutting of Seaston is too difficult, the world government asked the beasts to make the Seaston into a specific shape when purchasing it. After paying a large processing fee, the beasts happily took on this job. You guys sold it. Hearing this, the old man Gililius's face became a little strange. This reason was something she had never expected. Don't pay attention to such details. It's not surprising that pirates had some business dealings with the world government. Anyway, this news is true. You'd better be prepared. A pirate country naturally cannot be as self-sufficient as an ordinary country, and the land area of the Nine Snakes cannot do this, so the Nine Snakes pirates were derived. In the past, their style was to rob and run away, bring supplies back to the Nine Snakes, and then resist the enemy with the calm belt. This change has a huge impact on the Nine Snakes. Of course, we also have a solution. Do you want to consider moving? Move. In simple terms, move the entire Amazon Lily away and use the flag of the beasts as a shelter. That way, even without the calm belt navy, they will not act rashly. So, you want the Nine Snakes to become your vassal? That's about it. It's not strange in the world of pirates, right? Some people want to fly our flag, but haven't had the chance yet. Today's beasts are not the militaristic beasts of the original timeline. In terms of logistics development, the territory of the beasts is better than that of Big Mom. In a sense, they are a small world government with absolute ruling power on the islands they rule. And Olga's words are not a joke. There are indeed people who want to fly this flag, but haven't had the chance yet. This kind of thing Gililius was thinking about how to reject the other party. She couldn't merge the Nine Snakes into a force that was very unfamiliar to her, just because of a few words, but a cadre of the other party personally said this kind of thing, and directly explained the new technology of the Navy ship. Since the Navy can do it, then they who sell Seaston can naturally do it too. The Nine Snakes are not the opponents of the Navy, nor are they the opponents of the beasts. Moreover, it is too difficult to relocate the whole family. At this time, Gililius did not expect that Olga meant to move the island directly. Don't be so anxious, this is just a suggestion. In fact, you have another choice. The so-called 7 warlords of the sea of the Navy have not been fully recruited yet. The 7 warlords of the sea was proposed very early. Many years ago, Crocodile won the quota of the 7 warlords of the sea because of the battle with Barrett. The purpose of its proposal is to balance the forces on the sea. As a legal pirate with legal plundering rights, the 7 warlords of the sea naturally cannot be elected by anyone at will. Sufficient prestige and strength are what the world government values. Crocodile was invited to become a 7 warlords of the sea because he met this point. He also accepted this invitation with a special purpose. 7 warlords of the sea, yes, in the first half of the Grand Line, this identity is the best cover. After obtaining the legitimacy of the world government, ordinary pirates can't deal with you. What is your purpose? Friendly assistance, such as holding a social gathering from time to time, and the 7 warlords of the sea should also be able to access some special information. We need that information. At the same time, there is the matter I mentioned at the beginning. You may hesitate now, but you may take the initiative to join in a while. Girilius did not give any response to Olga's words. Now she was talking about the possibility of the future. Even she couldn't directly deny the possibility of such a thing happening, and the 2 suggestions made by Olga were indeed very important to the 9 snakes. Without the protection of the calm belt, they really had to find another way out. Direct relocation is not considered for the time being, but the location of the 7 warlords of the sea also makes Girilius feel very troublesome. After all, the 7 warlords of the sea are not cabbages, and they can't be taken just because they want them. If you agree, we have a way to help you push the situation forward. If everything goes well, the world government will soon invite you. Thank you for your suggestion. You've come a long way, so take a break. There are some things I need to discuss before I can give you a reply. You can take this, Excellency, to rest for a while. Someone did come, but it was Hancock. She has been outside since she came back. She also has a certain status in 9 snakes. When she left 9 snakes, she was the strongest warrior of the new generation. Let's go, Sister Olga, I'll take you to experience the mountain spring baths of 9 snakes. Chapter 404 A Planned Drama. It's really comfortable here, don't you think so, Elizabeth? Indeed, it's different from the hot springs in Wano country. In the bathhouse of 9 snakes, all kinds of women are enjoying life inside. King Kong Barbie, Petite Lali, Big Sumo Wrestler, all kinds of women can be seen in 9 snakes. Elizabeth and Olga are almost inseparable, and Elizabeth has no interest in her egg. It seems that it will not hatch for a while. This is related to the reproductive capacity of the basilisk lizard itself. The number of eggs laid is small and the incubation period is long. This factor has a lot to do with the fact that the basilisk lizard is defined as extinct by the outside world. The unique geological environment has formed a completely different experience, but the only problem is that she is very dissatisfied with the sign next to her. The water ahead is deep. No, Kit, there is a deep water area ahead. You should wait 2 years before swimming there. The influence of pure gold still exists. Although she has been growing slowly in the past 10 years, it is much slower than normal people. Her face has lost some of its maturity and gradually moved closer to her mother, but her figure has hardly developed at all. I'm not a kid. I'm 25 this year. 25 is based on an 8-year-old basic cycle. Add in the nearly 17 years since she left the belly of the Sea King, and if she is really old, Girilius might have to call her sister. When faced with negotiations with some so-called senior people, the beasts always send Olga to deal with it. It doesn't work for her to rely on her age. After a few words, she fooled the other bathers away. Hancock also appeared here again, but unlike before, she was still wrapped in a python. Sister Olga, this is Salome, my friend. Many Amazon lilies carry a snake, and Hancock's white-bottomed red-flowered python looks very beautiful among those snakes. Because there is no mark of the celestial dragon, the 3 sisters are walking here without any cover. Anyway, the 9 snakes have no men. Her development is much more advanced than Olga. The biggest difference is that she can float. A nice pet. It seems to be good at swimming. Yes, Salome likes swimming very much. That's a good hobby. Such a partner is very important for people with special abilities. Pirates sail on the sea after all, so there must be certain precautions against falling into the water. Almost no ship will do stupid things with only people with special abilities on board. In that case, everyone can say goodbye together when the ship sinks. As a person who can't fly, Olga relies on Elizabeth to prevent falling into the water. Whether it is the ability of the basilisk lizard to run on the water or the ability of the thousand-faced chameleon to glide and dive, it can effectively prevent such things. Otherwise, she would not soak in the bathroom to the extent that only her head is exposed. That kind of powerlessness will cause the body's reaction to become very slow when encountering danger. However, danger sometimes comes quietly. For example, for her, Hancock is a danger now. Wait, what are you doing? Wipe your back. Hey, I've told you so many times, keep your hands quiet. Because the water was too deep, Hancock's little trick succeeded a little, but the difference in strength was there, and Olga soon successfully counterattacked, and Elizabeth did not intervene in the frolicking here. After all, it was not dangerous. The next day, some dark circles could be seen on Girelius's eyelids. It seemed that she did not rest well, but she had made a decision. Relocation was too dangerous, and Shichibukai was a good idea. What do you want to do? Are there any rules for the succession of the emperor in your 9 snakes? Amazon Lily selects several emperor candidates in each generation. These are powerful young warriors. Hancock was originally a candidate for the emperor's successor. It is in line with the culture of pirates. The emperor does not have to be of the same lineage, but he must be strong. Only in this way can the pirate country survive. That would be much more convenient. We can push Hancock to that position. But isn't that decided by the world government? Yes, it is decided by the world government, but there are too many vacancies for their so-called 7 warlords of the sea now. They are probably looking for more candidates. This is indeed the case. When the 7 warlords of the sea system was proposed, the situation in the ocean was not so chaotic. However, with Roger opening the Great Pirate Era, and the emergence of the Emperors of the Sea who have now reached the top, the world government has also begun to increase its efforts in this regard. They need deterrence. Is there any pirate who is more intimidating than the Emperor of the Sea? So as long as Hancock's fruit ability can be demonstrated in her maiden voyage discovered by the world government, and a strong enough enemy can be defeated, the invitation will come soon. What do you mean? Let's put on a show. A senior cadre under the Emperor of the Sea. This victory is enough, but there is a problem. Can Hancock become the Emperor of the 9 Snakes, and can she be worthy of the position of Shichibukai? The position of Shichibukai is not a joke. Although it is not as easy to be challenged as the position of the Emperor of the Sea, it also requires real strength. According to the normal timeline, she took over the position of Shichibukai shortly after becoming the Emperor of Amazon Lily at the age of 18. She is 15 years old this year. Although she is 3 years younger, she spent the 3 years of her original slavery in normal training. Even if she ate the fruit earlier in the slave timeline, the purpose of the celestial dragons was not to petrify others. If we have to talk about strength, she is now 18 years old, and she is not much different from the original timeline, and she has already touched the lower limit of the 7 warlords. However, Girelius is not sure whether Hancock can bear the position of 7 warlords and the Emperor of the 9 Snakes. In the end, they reached an agreement. After that, the 9 Snakes will test Hancock's strength in their own way. After confirming that she can do that, they will notify the beasts and agree to the other party's request. Amazon Lily is an entire country, and there is nothing wrong with not putting eggs in one basket. Olga also left Amazon Lily at Hancock's farewell, and the beast's ship headed north to the North Sea. After a period of sailing, they have approached the waters of Frevens, but the atmosphere here is completely different from what Yamato imagined. According to the atlas, there should be a constant flow of ships in and out of Frevens, but now the area is very deserted, with no ships entering. Even ships flying other flags have to undergo a detailed inspection before leaving. Still, the 4th update. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405 The Tragedy of Frevens. There were scattered search boats on the sea, and the people on them were wearing heavy chemical protective suits and gas masks like the biological and chemical troops, as if they were worried about the dangerous goods on the ship. On the bow, Yamato, holding a telescope, was a little puzzled by all this. Strange, isn't it said, that the tourism industry in this country is very prosperous? But no one answered her this time. This was the biggest difference between her sailing and before. The ordinary crew on the ship would listen to her orders, but these people were at most ordinary givers. Neither Arceus nor Olga would intervene. Arceus was worried about accidents, and Olga was worried because her ability was the most convenient to use. When there was no direct battle, no one could use Olga's ability better. Yamato will sail alone in the future. Arceus's requirements are not high. At least she must be able to survive alone. She can't be like Luffy. If he is a little unlucky, that bucket will be the destination of his life. She is not required to master all the skills, but she must have basic judgment. Forget it, never mind, just keep going. When Yamato made the decision, Alga also received instructions from Arceus and put a cross on a small notebook. It was obvious that this behavior was not recognized. Yamato didn't know that someone was secretly grading her in a place she couldn't see, and this grade would affect her subsequent courses and sailing time. However, those people did not check the ship, because the standard of the waters near Frevens was now determined to be allowed in but not out, and they searched for ships going out, only because they were worried that Frevens people would go out with them. According to Yamato's order, the navigator and sailors on the ship continued to operate the ship. They were not worried that Yamato would cause trouble, because there were still people on the ship to support them. However, as the voyage continued, there were a lot more crosses on the small notebook. Lord Arceus, I think Miss Yamato just needs more training. After all, this is her first time commanding something like this. No, she is very similar to Kaido in this respect, but Kaido is too lazy to use his brain. She is basically hopeless in this respect. However, when she docked, she finally got a mark other than the cross. At least she learned from the previous practice. She hid the ship in a hidden place and took a small boat to dock. The place where the ship docked was not Frevens, but Frevens' neighboring country. Because Frevens port has been sealed, and it was its neighboring country who did this. Frevens faces the sea on both sides, and the land area is not large. On the contrary, its neighboring countries are not small, so it is easier to find a place to dock here. The people on the boat did not follow them. Even Olga and Arceus had already hidden their figures. From the time they docked, this was her journey. In addition to Mariah and Robin, she was only accompanied by Diancie. Bakeman is also one of her strengths at this time. The reason why she only brought Diancie is because Diancie's ability is more convenient in mining, and Quinn's chemistry class is still somewhat useful, and Diancie's strength is much stronger than other Bakeman. Yamato has basically failed in navigation. She has no talent in this area, and her next goal is whether she can successfully enter Frevens without Alga's help. Frevens is not only blockaded at sea, but also surrounded by barbed wire on land. Guards can be seen at intervals. This is because Frevens' platinum lead disease has broken out. Although platinum lead has its own uses in various places, it is a toxic mineral. This poison will not harm the user, and it will not be released if it is not mined, but as long as it is mined, the toxins contained in it will affect everyone in the area. As early as 100 years before the development of the platinum lead industry in Frevens, the geological exploration team of the world government had explored here and discovered the truth about platinum lead. However, in the face of huge interests, the world government and the royal family concealed all this and let the ordinary people of Frevens devote themselves to the platinum lead industry and keep mining platinum lead for them. The people got a lot of wealth, and the per capita income of Frevens rose sharply. For a time, the national happiness index was also rising, but they didn't know that this money was exchanged for life, not the lives of one or two people, but the lives of all people. The toxin content of platinum lead is very small, and this is the most dangerous part of platinum lead. This trace toxin will continue to accumulate and will be passed on to future generations, making the lives of future generations shorter and shorter. Now the mining of platinum lead has a history of almost 100 years, and the accumulation of platinum lead has reached the time of disease. Due to the characteristics of platinum lead accumulation, 3 generations of a family almost got sick at the same time. White spots appeared on the body surface, and the whole family died in pain. Many families couldn't even find a person to collect the bodies. This disease is like the South China Sea Emperor fever back then. There is no solution. Now no doctor knows how to treat platinum lead disease. Moreover, neighboring countries regard this disease as an infectious disease and block all areas of Frevens. Anyone who tries to go out will be shot. The royal family escaped with the help of the world government, but ordinary people can only wait for death. The world government and these royal families knew that platinum lead disease was not contagious, but was just a very deadly mineral disease, but they chose to conceal the truth, because they still needed people to mine platinum lead for them. If this news was exposed, then the mining of platinum lead would become very difficult. As long as these people died and were disinfected, ordinary people would think it was safe. And the empty Frevens would also have new people settle there. Faced with huge profits, some people would continue to mine platinum lead. In this way, other royal families could continue to reap the benefits. The world government could continue to get platinum lead and make a fortune in the transportation industry. The lives of ordinary people were what they gave up. Yamato hadn't decided what to do next. Years of education had also played a role. Facing this strange Frevens, she did not rush in, but decided to investigate the situation before going in. However, at this time, something happened in her sight that was difficult for her to accept. Someone in the barbed wire approached the border. They seemed to be asking for help without being armed, but the soldiers outside seemed very scared and repeatedly ordered them to retreat. But the people inside did not, because at this time, the medicine and food in Frevens were beginning to be short, and the pain was unbearable for them. If they continued to wait, they would only die. In this situation, the people outside finally chose to shoot, and the tragedy of Frevens began. Chapter 406. I don't know what is right or wrong, but I can't do nothing. Hey, what are you doing? She still had a bit of kindness in her nature. She could think about something only when nothing else happened. Seeing this kind of thing, her instinct made her stand up. According to her estimation, a fight would probably happen next, but the other side's actions were beyond Yamato's expectations. Wait. Little sister, don't come over here. It's dangerous here. It might be contagious. They didn't attack her. Seeing that she came from outside the barbed wire, they shouted that it was dangerous here, but the other two soldiers also took flamethrowers and burned the corpses. The huge contrast made her unable to figure out what was going on for a while. Originally, she thought these people were cruel villains who were ready to attack. This made her not know what to say, and the soldier in front of her thought she was scared. The soldier who scolded Yamato to stop turned around and saw his companions burning the corpses. Little sister, stay away from here. It's dangerous here. Don't you know that an epidemic is breaking out in Frevens? The soldier didn't know that what he was doing was a massacre. The order he received was to prevent the spread of the infection source and protect his country. His king didn't tell the truth at all, and they didn't dare to believe the Frevens people's own explanation. In order to prevent their families from getting the horrible disease, they chose to follow the order and eliminate the infected people. What happened here is not an isolated case. Similar things are happening all around Frevens, and it is getting worse. Although the royal family of Frevens has fled, a large amount of lead bullets are still stored in the warehouse. No one will sit and wait for death in a dead end. Those who can still move in Frevens took up arms and began to resist. Because of this resistance, the surrounding countries have won the great cause of self-defense and counterattack. Under the great cause of preventing the spread of the plague and protecting their own national security, the surrounding kingdoms have issued new orders, but the soldiers here are responsible for guarding outside. Olga. Understood. In the eyes of those soldiers, Yamato and the others seemed to have listened to his advice and left here, but in fact they were still there and had entered the quarantine area ahead, but they didn't see it. Reality always makes some changes to the plan. Originally, he didn't plan to show up, but now the timing is just right. Strength can be tempered anywhere, and Yamato can't find a more suitable opponent than Kaido. What training without actual combat is effective sometimes doesn't work for her. After all, there is no difference between Kaido's training and actual combat. But if she stays on Onigashima, her state of mind will not grow. In the current situation, let alone the real Reshiram, even the ideal Zekrom may not recognize her. There is a difference between naivety and idealism. She doesn't know anything at all without seeing the real world, and this is just a tempering for her. Godfather, what those people said, it's false, but they are not wrong. Arceus explained to Yamato some of the origins of platinum and lead, and also explained the concealment of mineral disease and the world government. Yamato, now the question is, what do you want to do now? I want to rescue these people and leave. The soldiers outside have their own orders. If you want to save these people, those soldiers are your enemies, and they are just protecting their country. If you want to save the people of Frevens, you have to hurt them. Do you still want to do that now? This time Yamato was unable to give an answer, and Arceus led them to continue moving forward. The scattered corpses before were just the beginning, and as they went deeper, the corpses almost covered the streets. How could it be like this? This is a world. If you don't have strength, you can only be slaughtered. The people of Yamato and Frevens are innocent. They encountered this because of the greed of the upper class, but those soldiers are not villains. Justice and evil are never absolute. In the eyes of the Navy, your father and I are both unforgivable villains, but in the territory of the beasts, we are in a position like protectors. When you help someone you think is weak, you are bullying another weak person in the posture of a strong person. So remember, in this world only the strong can decide what is good and evil, and what is right and wrong according to their own values. Everyone can talk about the big principles, but without the guarantee of force, the principles will always be the principles. At the age of 12, she is no longer ignorant. At this age, she has begun to understand the truth. The tragedy of Frevens has dissipated a lot of her innocence. You may have done something wrong. Nothing can satisfy everyone, but as long as you have a clear conscience, that's enough. So now, make your decision. There should be some survivors in the northeast. Yamato's body began to change. The appearance of the great god replaced her original appearance. Compared with her previous hesitation, she seemed to have figured out some things. Have you decided? I don't know if it's right for me to do this, but if I don't do anything, I will definitely not be able to sleep when I go back. Mariah, Diancie, come and help me, just don't kill those soldiers. That innocence still exists in her mind, but if a few words can make her abandon this nature, then she will not be herself. As she said that, she pulled Mariah and ran in the direction provided by Arceus. Diancie also flew over silently, but did not take Nico Robin, who had low combat power, with her. She couldn't let her incompetent companions be in danger because of her willfulness. This was something she had understood before. After Yamato left, Arceus instructed Olga, she's still a little impulsive. Olga, you follow her, and don't let her get into any danger. Leave it to me, Lord Arceus. After Olga took Elizabeth away, only Nico Robin was left here. Although her ability to accept was not weak, this scene had a great impact on her. At this moment, her face couldn't help but turn pale. All this was very similar to O'Hara at the beginning. See, this is what happened when the world government let it go. Their protection of the member countries is limited to a few people in the royal family. Guess how their newspapers will report this matter this time. At the beginning, she had doubts about the affairs of the kingdom of Sika, and it happened that she took the opportunity of Frevens to let her understand some things, so as not to affect her future relationship with Yamato. At this time, Yamato had also arrived at the designated location. Looking at the sea of fire, an ice blue breath came out of her mouth. Chapter 407, The Cult of Arceus Needs a Professional Nun. Mushy Bing Fang. The ice blue breath came out of Yamato's mouth. This mushy Bing Fang was the product of her 4 years of training. From the beginning, it was as powerful as air conditioning to the powerful freezing air that can freeze the sea of fire. She put in too much effort. To be precise, it should be torture. From the flames of Kakashi and King Yanwu to the hot breath of Kaido, in order to break through the hot environment, she was forced to break through the limit every day. The small river in front had long dried up, and the arch bridge above was engulfed by the fire. Under the coverage of mushy Bing Fang, the burning flame had just gone out, but what came into view was just more corpses. And there were more corpses of children. Many of the corpses had become unrecognizable. The flames could burn so vigorously because these corpses became the fuel of the flames. These people should have grown up happily, but they encountered the greatest misfortune in their lives. They were people living in a monastery. This monastery also had a school in Frevens. The parents of these children fell ill and died of platinum lead disease and were taken back by the nuns of the monastery. Unlike Carmelo, who was disguised as a nun and worked as a human trafficker, this was a real nun, but she was deceived by the soldiers. Because some soldiers promised her to let the children go and lied that there was a refuge ship leaving here for them. This was a lie from the soldiers. Under the threat of infectious diseases, they did not dare to do such a thing. It was just an excuse to gather them together and eliminate the pathogens they thought from the root. Mariah, use that to check it. Okay, but Yamato, don't hold too much hope. Several spider silks were swayed from the fingertips, and most of the victims on the ground were covered by the spider silk. Most of the owners of these Pokemon abilities are not limited to their inherent powers. Combined with their own abilities and talents, they all have similar developments. Babanuki's gun cutting mode is the most typical feature, and Mariah also has a special application for the electric spider's ability. The electric spider itself is particularly sensitive to the vibrations transmitted from its own spider web. Even if it cannot be seen, it can judge the size and shape of the prey through the vibration of the spider web, and it will not be affected by the wind in nature. Mariah doesn't catch insects and birds, so her development of spider silk is similar to the pulse diagnosis of hanging silk. She can judge whether a person still has signs of life through spider silk. Even if the body still has the weakest breath and heartbeat, her spider silk can provide feedback. This was originally developed by her to check for gaps on the battlefield, to prevent people from pretending to be dead in the pile of corpses, and to reduce the time of finishing one by one. But now, Yamato thought of the use of this ability. Her brain is sometimes very useful, but it is sometimes not. The charred corpses were not tested, and there was no need to do so, but she did find a weak reaction in the remaining corpses. Yamato, the nun is still alive. As for the others, the physique and vitality of adults are much stronger than those of children, so the nun is still alive, but her vitality is gradually fading. The cross that she always kept in her hand fell to the side, and her nails were full of mud. From the scratches left, she was still crawling towards the child beside her, before she fell into a coma. He took out a bottle of green pills from his pocket. These were special life-saving pills made by Nanakin. They were exclusively supplied by the beasts, and were not for sale. They could be used for both external and internal use. They had a strong hemostatic effect, and were usually used with the injections made by Quinn. Their life-saving effect was second only to the resurrection grass. That should be enough, Mariah. Sorry to bother you. The gunfire in the distance had stopped, but this was not good news. The cessation of gunfire meant that the soldiers had not found any new targets, and that Frevens had probably become a dead city. When they came here, it was basically the end, so all they could do was to finish it off. Yamato's problem was to ask Mariah to help take the person away. It was not that she was not strong enough, but that her current body carrying an adult would greatly affect her mobility. But this was not a problem for Mariah at all. Her height was much larger than that of a normal person, so it would not affect anything, whether she carried the person on her shoulders or held her in her arms. However, considering the situation of the injured, she chose to enter the human beast form and put the nun on the spider's body. Then they continued to walk towards the building in front of them. This was the hospital in Frevens, and the fire also began to spread in the hospital. The scene in the hospital was also horrible. Some people were shot directly on the beds, and some medical staff also fell to the ground. However, there were not many people here, and many beds were empty. In fact, some people were not killed by bullets, but died of platinum lead disease. When the platinum lead disease began to break out, those people had already gathered here. If there were enough medical drugs, these people could probably survive for a while. However, with the blockade of neighboring countries here, the medical supplies in the hospital began to be consumed in large quantities. Without targeted drugs, many people could only die in pain, so most of the people who could still move chose to escape. There were not many people left in the hospital, and there were almost no living people in this part of the people. Only a little girl was found in a closet. Although there was no external injury, the life signal was also not strong. This was a sign of the onset of platinum lead disease. Although Frevens' platinum lead disease broke out in large numbers almost in the same period of time, the impact of the disease was different depending on the physical constitution. Then Yamato asked Mariah to take the other party away first, and he stayed here alone to continue searching. Lord Arceus, Yamato is still in there. I know, let her try again, but it's meaningless. He could not detect any breath of life except Yamato. Those soldiers were professional soldiers, and only a few of them were left with a breath like the nun. The nun was in a good condition. Mariah used spider silk for first aid bandage, and special medicines had stopped the bleeding. As for the bullets remaining in the body, it would be a problem for surgery later. In fact, she had just woken up once, but as a nun, she naturally believed in God. There was no despair in the world, and she always believed that the light of salvation would come. So after waking up and finding herself on the back of a giant spider, she thought she had gone to hell. As a nun, she couldn't accept this for a while, so she fell into a coma again. Chapter 408, when Diane studied the periodic table. The religious beliefs in the pirate world are very complicated. No matter what you believe in, no one will interfere, provided that you do not touch the rules set by some people. However, no matter which religion, Spider is mostly in the camp of evil gods due to its own image. This nun is not a member of a strange sect, so this reaction occurred. However, most religions do not have unified management. As long as the religion meets the characteristics of the local kingdom, they are legal in the local area. It is very likely that two people believe in the same god, but because of their different birthplaces, their doctrines are completely different. If you want to find a sect with a large influence and unified command on the sea, the Arceus cult is one of them. The agents of the world government of this sect have also noticed it, but they just regard it as a byproduct of the beast pirates and think that it is something Kaido made to control the pirates. Because the meaning of the existence of religion is, in most cases, a tool of rule for those in power, especially the doctrine of the Arceus cult is too simple. In general, it is to believe in Arceus to get everything. This simple to the extreme doctrine does not matter to them at all. Not long after, Yamato came out with a disappointed look. She didn't see any other survivors. No need to go there. I came from there. This kingdom has been destroyed. Except for the royal family, this kingdom has basically nothing left. Arceus stopped Yamato from continuing to explore. What they saw was enough. There was no need to continue to look. In fact, it didn't take them long to get here. This is because the land area of Frevens is not large. The area of countries in this world is sometimes comparable to medieval villages. The reason why Frevens is called the White Town is because its area is very small. Otherwise, this is not a white town, but a white kingdom. But, no buts, this is what you see now. Frevens is an exception, but there are far more than one such country. There are more than 200 member countries of the world government, but do you know how many non-member countries there are? But this world is not what I thought. Although she didn't ask stupid questions like why not eat meat, she couldn't think of anyone who would let a country die for the sake of profit. You can't take care of these things now, and Yamato, the rating for your trip is out. Huh? Is there such a thing? She didn't know that there was such a thing as a rating for her trip, and it was not in Arceus's habit to talk about her rating at this time. Your strength is not bad, and your fruit ability has improved, but you are too reckless and put yourself in dangerous situations more than once. You are far from qualified to go on a solo voyage. In short, you fail. But, Father sometimes does this. How did you know this? Father will talk about his past experiences when he is drunk. Yamato's answer was a bit unexpected, but it did not change the ending. You should learn something you should learn. Except for Kaido's monster physique, she did not inherit Kaido's own shrewdness, but she learned his recklessness thoroughly. You are not allowed to learn his stuff after you go back. In addition, you have to take half an hour of common sense theory class every day. Wait, Godfather, can the theory class be changed? To be honest, she didn't want to go to class, whether it was Kaido's martial arts teaching or ordinary theory class, but if she had to choose one, she would rather go to the training ground than to the theory class. No, let that guy Quinn teach you some more insidious methods, and your naivety needs to be neutralized. It's okay if you don't want to go to class. Really? Really, your father or me, you choose one, as long as you can win. No, you can hold on for 1 hour. When we are all out, then you can sail alone. Kaido seems to be reckless, but he has always controlled the risk to a certain extent. For example, when he was young, he always chose the prison ship because such a ship could not trap him. At that time, if he ran into the naval base, he would really fall into the trap. When he began to act recklessly later, he had enough strength. Yamato had two options, either to make himself smarter, or to have absolute strength to ignore the consequences. Kazuki Oden has been dead for several years. If she can hold out for an hour under Kaido, she must at least reach the level of Oden back then. Although Yamato is now a monster among her peers, it is impossible for her to do so. After a brief thought, she accepted the fact that she had one more course. Olga, take them back to the ship and let the doctor deal with these two people. Diancie, come with me to the mine. The number of survivors is comparable to that of the Lunaria tribe, but this is not what he cares about. Although the world government has covered up the existence of platinum and lead on the grounds of infectious diseases, Frevens will inevitably become an empty city for some time to come. Even if the surrounding countries want to mine, they have to wait for a while, so the price of platinum and lead will inevitably soar in the future. Taking away a large amount of platinum and lead at this time is very meaningful for the future. Diancie, let me see what you have learned from Quinn. Yes, my lord, you will be satisfied. The principle of Diancie making diamonds is to compress carbon atoms in the air. Because of her race, she is naturally familiar with that ingredient, and Quinn's teaching is to let Diancie understand more elemental structures and extract other substances. However, Quinn used this ability in a somewhat biased direction. In addition to extracting special ingredients, he also made a special fertilizer that contains various ingredients needed for bananas. But my lord, please do me a small favor. That thing is beyond my ability. She can compress the ingredients in the air, but she can't mine directly. If she is asked to mine minerals in the Earth's crust, she can only dig a little bit at a time. The mine here is ready-made. Along the hole left by the mine, high temperature flames were released by Arceus. Endless flames almost filled the mine, and the platinum and lead inside began to vaporize under the influence of high temperature. This is what Diancie needs. A light pink light appears from her hands. The floating platinum lead gas condenses into platinum lead ingots under her control. These are the refined platinum lead, and the purity is higher than that of Frevens in the past. As long as it passes a purification stage, the platinum lead will become harmless to people. Moreover, under Diancie's control, there is no excess platinum lead spilling. Now we only need to consider how to move them away. Chapter 409, The New Plan of the Stinky Mud Therapy and the Fruit of Beasts. The properties of some slates actually have a certain extension. For example, the steel slate does not only refer to steel, but also contains a large number of metal minerals. The fireball slate does not only refer to fire. Attacks with fire attributes such as high temperature and magma are all included, but in reality there are some attacks with composite attributes, such as magma that has the properties of both fire and rock. To be completely immune to this attack, you probably need two slates. The smelted platinum lead ore belongs to the control range of the steel slate, so those platinum lead ingots followed them away from here as if suspended, and the surrounding barbed wire was useless to them. Now there are only 3 people left in the entire Frevens, the Nan and the girl who were discovered and taken away by Yamato, and Eluo who hid in the charred corpses and sneaked out of the border. Yamato and the others came here at the end of the time. At that time, Eluo had already experienced despair and fled from the vicinity of the hospital with the principle that no one could believe in him. Surviving for revenge and revenge were his only beliefs at the time. At this time, the Origin had begun a new voyage, but the destination was not Onigashima, but the East China Sea. After seeing the tragic reality of the world, Arceus planned to take them to change their mood. Because the whole world is not so cruel, beauty still exists. His purpose is to make Yamato not so naive, not to make her negative and pessimistic, so the treasure hunt, before returning home has become her extra entertainment. However, it is not Yamato's character to be depressed because of such things. She will never be trapped in the memories of the past. Now she is concerned about the doctor's rescue situation. How is it, Miss Yamato? We have taken out the bullet in the woman's body. Their vital signs are also stable at present, but we can't do anything about the heavy metal poisoning. Platinum lead poisoning is not a regular poisoning. The reason for their poisoning is not that the cell structure is destroyed by the toxin, but that the component exists in every part of their body. Even the fetus will be infected because of the mother. Conventional means have no way, because the antidote is not effective for this situation. The existing means can temporarily stabilize the lives of the two, but there is no other way. Now every flagship with the name of the Beast Pirates has a complete set of medical equipment, and those ship doctors will be sent to the Beast Pokemon Center for further training when they are not sailing. The doctor on board the Origin was a top surgeon who could perform most surgeries, but even so, he had no way to deal with the platinum lead disease distributed throughout the body. What will happen if it can't be cured? She will die. That woman should be able to hold on for a year, and that girl for a month at most. This is based on conventional means. For people in the pirate world, platinum lead disease has no solution, unless they find the surgery fruit or a fruit with similar abilities to remove it. However, there is an ability on this ship that is far beyond the world's understanding, but it is not Diancie. Although Diancie has a way to extract platinum lead, the premise is that the platinum lead is turned into gas, and in that case, the two people must be burned into ashes first. So Arceus prepared a very special treatment for them, the stinky mud treatment method. He had guessed that Yamato would ask for this, so he came up with such a method. The stinky mud has a characteristic that it is immune to all poisons. No matter what toxic substances they eat, they will become part of the body, whether it is neurotoxins or protein toxins, whether it is toxic metals or anything else, it is the same for them. And because these stinky muds are a Lola form stinky muds, they are not easy to smell. It's just that the treatment process is not beautiful. It's equivalent to letting two people be wrapped in stinky mud for a period of time, waiting for them to slowly absorb the platinum and lead in the human body. If Yamato was poisoned, then Arceus would probably take action himself, even if the members of the beasts had problems in the battle. But now these are two unrelated people, he doesn't need to do that. The two stinky mud medical soldiers are already for Yamato's face. During this process, they can basically only survive on nutrient solution. In order to prevent them from having physical discomfort, a strong sleeping agent was also used. Anyone who wakes up and finds himself in a pool of moving mud will probably not be able to get over the threshold in his heart. Godfather, why can't I watch it too? The picture is not very beautiful, it's not suitable for you now. Go and study the treasure map with Robin. This reason convinced Yamato, and Yamato would still listen to the things he explicitly prohibited, otherwise she would probably lose an umbrella when Kaido was training. Saving those two people was for Yamato's personal psychological reasons, and on the other hand, he planned to do something with the help of the beast fruit. The matter of Frevens was covered up by the excuse of infectious diseases, and Arceus's goal was to break this window paper. There was a medical industry under the beast fruit, and platinum lead was just an opportunity to cheat the rich. The richer the people, the more they cherish their lives. They enjoy the beauty of the world, and are reluctant to give up all this, so Arceus wants to give them a sense of crisis. That is, they are also infected with platinum lead disease. Because platinum lead exists as a luxury, its price is very high, and ordinary people can't afford it at all. In the past, many nobles in the kingdom used platinum lead as a symbol of status. As long as this matter is made clear and they are told that Frevens is not an infectious disease, but metal poisoning, then they will inevitably have a sense of self-danger. Although the use of platinum lead is harmless, they don't know that the truth about platinum lead is only known to the royal family of Frevens and the world government. In order to sell them better, the royal families of other kingdoms are also unclear about the details. After all, anyone who uses a poisonous thing has to think carefully. Pufferfish is poisonous, so even if everyone says it is delicious, many people dare not try it. No one knows if they are the unlucky ones. Faced with the terrible impact of platinum lead disease that can cause genocide, even if the world government is willing to explain the truth, they may not believe it. At this time, a famous doctor appeared. After several years of research, he found a way to treat platinum lead disease and developed a special medicine. And a patient with platinum lead disease successfully recovered under his treatment. Faced with this situation, the royal family and nobles are naturally willing to spend a lot of money. Moreover, the medical company under the 100 Beasts fruit will also become famous because of this. This is the most effective advertisement for the subsequent sales of some medicines. Those tree fruit medicines are real conscientious medicines. As long as you use them, you will know how good they are. It's just that they are a bit expensive. By then, the 100 Beasts fruit will be able to create a pillar industry again. Chapter 410 The Carp King's Gratitude. The nun who tried to preach was preached in reverse. Olga, are the photos ready? Yes, but Lord Arceus, will anyone be willing to publish this kind of news? Olga had received the order to take photos before, and she could say that she had recorded all the miserable conditions in Frevens. However, she knew one thing, after knowing the truth, that publishing this kind of news would probably get her targeted. Yes, Morgans would not let go of such big news. If he had considered the world government, his newspaper would not have come this far. The two main reasons for Morgan's rise to fame were the flocks of newsbirds and the courage to report big events. At first, reporting big events was his hobby and for fame, but now it was also his way of saving his life. If he lost his popularity, then the world government's attitude towards him would not be a possible assassination, but a positive wanted order. With these photos and the truth of the content, Morgans would definitely report it widely, and then their goal would be achieved. Especially the royal family of Frevens. Living in Frevens, they would be affected by platinum, and lead no matter how careful they were, and they knew the truth, so they would only spend more money to eliminate this hidden danger. This operation also has a special code name, specially swindle the rich. Arrange it and send a message to Tesoro using Rotom. He will know what to do, but don't worry. Wait until we get back to start planning. He can slowly work on this matter during this period. In addition, notify your father and others, and ask Onigashima to make some preparations. For example, the treatment report of platinum lead disease. This stinky mud treatment will naturally not be leaked, so they need to plan something that outsiders cannot understand, but is very reasonable, making people feel that it is mysterious and powerful. The same is true for the medicine part, because there is no specific medicine, so this kind of medicine requires unknown health products that are harmless to the human body. It just so happens that Quinn uses Diance's ability to create some new element, which are now effective enough. At the same time, with Makin's Chinese medicine talent to come up with some pharmacology, and then use Ceci's mineral knowledge to explain the problem of platinum and lead. The abilities of these three experts can just come in handy. I see, but do we need to record the treatment process of the nun? Just take a picture of the face. The healing process is still very long. While waiting, the people on the boat also had their own ways of entertainment. For example, the doctor on the boat became obsessed with the treatment method of the stinky mud and wrote observation reports every day. Yamato temporarily became a fisherman. This was her new training. The purpose was to cultivate patience. She was too impatient and would do very irrational things in some cases. Fishing is a big test of patience. Although the moment of catching a fish is very happy, for this short-lived happiness, you have to endure a long period of loneliness. Successfully catching a fish is her goal today. Miss Yamato, you can't do this. Yes, we are not a fishing boat, and there are no reefs nearby. There are very few fish schools. You need more patience. At this time, Yamato held two fishing rods in both hands, and picked them up from time to take a look. Not to mention sea fishing, even in the fish pond, it is estimated that you can't catch fish like this. Robin was much more relaxed. She was reading a book, and it was only her extended arm that was fishing. This was a collaboration between her and Mariah. Mariah used the spider's compound eyes to capture the movement of the float, while she controlled the fishing rod. Both of them were very patient, so they got much more than Yamato. But in the end, she succeeded. When she was about to explode, a Magikarp gave her this face, and was successfully caught. Remember not to bite the hook in the future, and stay away from the fishing net. Remember to evolve early. Looking at the Magikarp that had ended her painful lesson today, Yamato used the power of Changpan to teach it how to avoid risks, and then threw it back into the sea again. At the same time as she ended her fishing career, the long course of the stinky mud treatment plan finally ended. At this time, they were close to the East China Sea. It can be said that this was a treatment that crossed half of the North Sea. The platinum and lead content has been cleared, and the injection of sleeping pills has been stopped. They should wake up soon. Looking at the test report in his hand, the ship's doctor made his own judgment, and the fact was just as he said. The nun woke up soon, but her mind was not very clear after a long period of sleep. Is this hell? I remember that I seemed to be taken away by the messenger of hell. Her last impression was that she was entangled in spider silk on the back of a humanoid spider and taken away. No, this is on the ship. We have left Frevens. According to the voyage, we are almost in the East China Sea now. How do you feel? Do you feel uncomfortable? The doctor asked about her physical condition. He still had to write an observation report on the ship. So those were just dreams, right? Are the children saved? Where are they? Right next to you. The nun turned her head and looked to the side and saw the girl lying on the bed. Rami. Where's her brother? Where's the other children? Only then did they know the girl's name. Rami. Her full name is Trafalgar Watia Rami. Wedi is a pseudonym and Watia is a taboo name. She is only called Trafalgar Rami to the outside world. That is, she is Trafalgar Law's biological sister. Unfortunately, there are only 2 survivors in Frevens, and Miss Yamato didn't find any other survivors. Don't get excited yet, your body is not very healthy now. The nutrient solution replenishes the substances needed for life, but this nun will not return to life. It's good that her muscles haven't atrophied after lying for so long. After the ship's doctor's narration, she still accepted the fact that she didn't want to believe. The only child in the monastery was Rami in front of her. Rami woke up soon after, but unlike the nun, she had no memory of what happened before, and she didn't even recognize the nun. She is amnesia caused by heavy metal poisoning, but if you please, it's a good thing that she forgot everything. What do you think? After the examination, the doctor moved Lammy to another room, and then said to the nun, indeed. Thinking back to everything about Frevens, even the nun felt cold all over. It was a good thing that Lammy forgot those things. Doctor, you are a good person. May God bless you. Goodbye. I'm not a good person, and compared to your lord, I believe in Lord Arceus more. It was him and Miss Yamato who brought you back. Don't forget this favor. Originally, she just mentioned the lord out of habit, but as a nun, she encountered the missionary work of others. In the latest episode, Eluo's gender change appeared, so it can be understood that Lammy is very similar to his gender change. Chapter 411 Occupational Disease Attack. Lord Arceus is omnipotent. Have you seen that, Lord? Why don't you change your faith? Similar remarks were the most common ones she heard on the ship, because the pirate group mainly believed in pragmatism. The reason why the Arceus cult could spread so quickly in the Beast's pirates was because they saw the real benefits. It was unrealistic to tell a group of pirates what would happen after death and what the future would be like. Only the benefits in hand made them most excited. One after another, living examples appeared one after another, such as Mandafesh. At the beginning, he was just an ordinary member of many pirates, but the first lottery made him stand out from the group of ordinary pirates. Whether it is a god of grace or a giver, the improvement brought by the given abilities is not only reflected in the skills, but also in the improvement of physical fitness. Water Splash made Mandafesh's waist and leg muscles more developed, Leaf Blade made Demoline's arms more powerful, and Roll made Pearman's skin tougher. These are all incidental effects of the skills. The subtle changes that also occurred in the body are the reason why they can use Pokemon skills with human bodies. Such changes allow them to withstand stronger training, making them stronger and opening their own promotion path within the Beast's pirates. For an ordinary pirate, gaining power is the fastest way for them to achieve class leap. Otherwise, Kaido can't be saved. For example, Otterheim's glass bone physique that breaks at the touch can't withstand high intensity training at all, gradually forming a dead cycle. The relatively fair mechanism makes them more interested in the Arceus cult, and the derived welfare policies and first aid medicines are also what they need. They may not be afraid of death, but how many people are willing to die when they can live? The illusory god. The real savior. She used to be devout in her faith, but she had to admit a problem. The god she believed in never appeared in the end, and none of the children in the monastery survived. At this time, she also knew that this ship was a pirate ship, and a group of evil parties became saviors instead, and the smiles on these people's faces were very sincere. The last time she saw that kind of smile was before the onset of Platinumly disease. What was happening in front of her was in a fierce collision with her inherent values. Mom, do you have time now? Rami, why are you here? The uncles have something to tell you, so I came to ask you. Lying was not in line with her teachings, but she had already told Rami a lie. Since she had forgotten what happened because of platinum lead poisoning, the nun didn't want her to recall that kind of thing. So she concealed her last name, only kept the name Rami, and told her that she was her mother. Don't run around, don't get close to the side of the ship, and don't cause trouble to others. Got it? After instructing Rami, the nun came to the outside of the cabin, and then someone handed her a newspaper. This is newspaper about Frevens. Lord Arceus has told me to give it to you when you are more stable. Frevens suddenly suffered an unknown disease, and the king expressed deep grief. Neighboring medical rescue teams have entered Frevens to carry out humanitarian rescue. It's a lie. The weeping king, and the patients being treated. These photos look very real, but as an eyewitness to the incident, the nun doesn't believe this kind of thing at all. There has never been any medical team, only the army of neighboring countries. As for the grieving king, those people ran faster than anyone else, and also took away a large amount of drugs to relieve the symptoms of platinum-Lee disease. The shortage of drugs in the hospital in the later period is directly related to the royal family of Frevens. Although those drugs cannot cure the disease, they can make people feel much more comfortable and prolong the life cycle. This is a newspaper from a month ago, and it is also the world's perception of Frevens. Arceus came behind the nun, and the newspaper turned to a new page under his power. We have a plan. To tell you the truth, this plan will bring us huge profits if it succeeds. As a survivor of Frevens, are you willing to cooperate with us in this plan? The plan is to expose the truth about Frevens. Although the profits have nothing to do with you, by doing so, the deceased of Frevens will die with a clear mind. At least they will know that Frevens was not destroyed by disease, but by man-made disasters. For some people with channels, the affairs of Frevens are not a secret, but more people know nothing about it, unless someone breaks the window paper. Your safety will be fine. They won't have a chance to assassinate you, but this will probably violate your doctrine, right? Yes, liars go to hell, but it doesn't matter. I should have gone to hell a long time ago. Now that I've been dragged out of hell, it's a new test. The tragedy of Frevens has already happened, but it shouldn't be forgotten by the world. What do you need me to do? There will be an interview with you at that time. Just tell the truth, but don't say anything you shouldn't say. Arceus thought that the matter had come to an end. The next schedule was still quite tight. After the East China Sea, he would deal with the problem of Fishman Island. The date agreed by Setsuna and Zorora was approaching, and the development of Tesoro was also on the agenda. But a few days later, the people on the ship discovered an abnormal behavior of the nun. You said she was asking you about me? No, Godfather, she was not asking about you, but about the Church of Arceus. The Church of Arceus was not established by him, but a small organization created by Shaina at the beginning, but this organization gradually grew in the later period. Although it is called the Cult of Arceus, this organization is essentially nothing like a religion. What is she doing? She seems to want to. Yes, she seems to want to come up with a doctrine. During this period, the nun experienced the collapse and reconstruction of her faith. Growing up in a monastery since childhood, that concept has been deeply rooted in her heart, and the logo of the Arceus Thousand Universe wrist is shaped like a variant of a cross. In this case, she felt that Arceus was the true spokesperson for God, and then the nun's occupational disease broke out. It's a pity that it was Olga instead of Shaina who was on the ship this time. Otherwise, with the nun's current thoughts, Shaina would probably be very interested in her. Olga, remember, let Shaina be in charge of that nun after you go back. Her name is Misu. I know, I will tell Sister Shaina. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412 Wu Nan's Golden Treasure. The treasure is sleeping. Looking from the hills in the south, the whale is facing east, with its tail. Why is the words on this treasure map not fully recorded? Who copied this thing? Lying on the Thousand Cosmos arm at the bow, Yamato looked at the so-called treasure map, and complained about the person who copied it. Pirate culture did not appear in Roger's era. In the nearly 800 years since the establishment of the world government, Countless pirates have appeared, and many of them have buried their own treasures. And these pirates usually have a common problem, that is, they have no heirs, so they leave treasure maps for others to find, but the treasure maps are not written clearly, and always leave riddles. Yamato doesn't like this kind of puzzle game, especially this kind of thing that doesn't even copy the riddles in full. Maybe the original version is like this, but it is this kind of treasure map that is interesting. Maybe it's some ancient ruins or something like that. Robin, what do you think? The Bow of the Thousand Cosmos Arm is Yamato's exclusive seat, so Mariah and Robin only communicate with her behind the side of the ship. No, ancient treasure maps would not use this font, especially since this writing style has only appeared in recent years. Many things can indicate history, such as the text on the treasure map. Text can be faked, but if it is a treasure map with a long history, modern text will never appear on it. Really? I wonder what the treasure will be in. We'll know tomorrow. Anyway, we are almost there. By the way, Yamato, do you want to go to the nearby town? There seems to be a lantern festival here. Sailing in the East China Sea is much easier than the Grand Line. As long as you follow the ready-made sea charts, there will be no problems. There will be no sudden appearance of sea kings, and there is no need to worry about knives suddenly falling from the sky. The navigators and helmsmen of the main ships of the Beast Pirates are all excellent personnel who can sail in dangerous waters outside the country of Wano. The probability of overturning here is about the same as that of a racer driving a bumper car. The ship docked only to replenish supplies, but there was another slash on Alga's little notebook. This time it was because she was not vigilant enough, because she asked people in the town about the information of Wunan. The reason why it is a slash instead of a cross is that this time she at least knew to collect intelligence first, which is considered a little progress. Isn't this the treasure map of Wunan? He is a legendary pirate. It is said that 1/3 of the world's gold is in his hands. If you really find it, you will make a fortune. In front of a small tempura shop, the owner talked about the rumors he heard. But Wunan has disappeared for 2 or 3 years. I really miss him. I just inherited this shop at that time. She didn't care about the boss's reminiscence of his youth. Although she liked to listen to stories, this kind of family affairs was not what she was interested in. To her, these were not as interesting as tempura. She almost closed the shop by herself. The shops in the small town didn't prepare much, and it was not enough for her as a big eater. 300 bales in total. 300? Don't you have any money? Where's your parents? No, I'll give you the money, no need to change. Yamato handed over a 500 Bailey coin. The consumption quota here was so low that she couldn't imagine it. Normally, she would have to spend at least 50,000 Baileys this time. However, she didn't notice that a few people drinking in the stall next to her seemed to be interested in this and left the stall after they left. The Great Pirate Anan, 1/3 of the world's gold, sounds so powerful. That's impossible. It sounds fake. If a pirate can really collect so much gold, he would probably be as famous as Roger, but Mr. Arceus and Mr. Kaido have never mentioned this name. Yeah, it's probably a pirate from the East China Sea. Rumors always get more and more outrageous. Yamato became interested in that Anan, but Mariah and Robin didn't believe that. It's impossible for a pirate to do such a thing. Even Tesoro and the original timeline solved those troubles through connections with the world government. Anan's reputation is definitely not less than rocks if he can do such a thing and hasn't been wiped out. The people on the Origin also confirmed this. They had never heard of such a person, which made Yamato's enthusiasm fade a little bit. The legendary pirate's treasure is meaningful. The reason why Roger's treasure attracted so many people is because he became the Pirate King for the first time in history. Everyone believes that the Pirate King's treasure must have great value. The ship was heading for the island described in the treasure map, but behind the Origin, a ship quietly followed. Lord Arceus, there is a ship following us. Do you want to deal with it? Are there any bounties? No, there is no such person in our database, and they look like ordinary treasure hunters. Do you want to expel them? Alga, go and try them. If they are strong, kill them. If they are weak, leave them. Treasure hunters are similar to pirate hunters. In the world of pirates, no matter what kind of hunter they are, they all use force. Whether it is looking for treasure or hunting pirates, it is very common to use force. Alga's test was to determine whether they were suitable as an episode on Yamato's treasure hunt. Understood, Elizabeth, let's go. Elizabeth followed Alga tacitly and jumped off the side of the ship and soon disappeared from sight. Alga's body did not grow very much and she could still ride on Elizabeth's back, which was very convenient in their daily actions. Although the East China Sea is known as the weakest sea, many strong people were born here, so it is always right to pay more attention. Although the ship was following far behind and only a point of the flagpole could be seen in sight, Alga still arrived there quickly. The test method was also very simple. She used an illusion to create a sea beast to lure them to attack, and then observed the effect of the attack from the side, and she did it more than once. After testing it several times through illusions, she concluded that this group of people were a bunch of weaklings. Such people, let alone posing a threat to Yamato, are not even qualified to be sparring partners. So fast? Don't worry, Lord Arceus, I've tested it several times, and the crew are all ordinary people. I estimate that the cook on the ship can beat 10 of them. The captain is a person with special abilities, and it seems that he has a sound type fruit. He can fire a sonic cannon from his mouth by roaring, but it needs to be charged. Miss Yamato can deal with him. Chapter 413. Do you think you are Ultraman? Exclamation mark. Yamato, go by yourself. I won't follow you this time. The island is not big. It is a small island in the true sense. After the ship circled once, he had sensed the breath on the island. There was no human breath on it, nor the breath of any dangerous beasts, so he let Yamato and the others go to play by themselves. The reason for going around in such a circle was to wait for the guys behind them. The boat of that group of people was too slow. Even if the Origin was sailing at the lowest speed in the later period, it still completely left them behind. And there was no suitable port on this island. With the draft of the Origin, it was impossible to get close to it. Yamato and the others could only choose to dock with a lifeboat. However, the Origin did not disappear on the sea, but just dropped the anchor after putting away the flag. The reason why it did not disappear was that Alga followed them away from here. Yamato's scoring test was still going on, and it was always good to have an extra insurance. After changing into a set of jungle exploration clothes, Yamato took Robin and Mariah to the Golden Island, marked on the map. Lord Drago, they had landed on the island. Behind a reef, a gangster-like man reported the situation to the tall man behind him. Drago had dark skin, long red hair, and a lion-like face. Collecting gold was also one of his hobbies. According to the normal timeline, he would have to look for this place for at least 10 years, but they heard Yamato's conversation at the tempura restaurant yesterday, so they followed secretly. At this time, there were only a dozen people on their ship, and they were gathered together because of Drago's ability. Even in the East China Sea, they were at the level of small fish, so Alga made a statement that the cook on the ship could beat 10 people. If Drago was not a person with abilities, her evaluation would have changed too, that the cook could kill them all. Lord Drago, let's follow quietly. That ship is so big, it looks like it's not easy to mess with. Their ship was like an ant meeting an elephant compared to the Origin. The size was no different from the lifeboat on the Origin. The size of the ship alone showed the gap between the two sides. However, Drago didn't think so. He even wanted to take the treasure on the ship for himself. This is common sense in the world of pirates. Because pirates sail on the sea for a long time, Bailey is easy to be damaged if it is kept for a long time. Once it encounters danger and soaks in water, it becomes waste paper. Therefore, in addition to certain banknotes, pirates will exchange their property for hard currency such as gold, so that even if it sinks, they can find a chance to salvage it. And Drago is a person who is very obsessed with gold. At the same time, he is also a person who has never seen the world. He even has the idea of exchanging the Origin for money. Don't worry about the ship first. They dared to let a woman and 2 girls go ashore alone. Let's catch them first. Mariah's size made them misunderstand. They didn't regard her as a peer, but as a parent. Although the description of the treasure map was half understood, they quickly found a whale-shaped stone on the island, and saw a high mountain pointed by its curved tail. The whale's tail, it should be on that mountain. It's boring if it's so easy. Hey, do you still want to follow? We've been following all the way. At this point, Yamato shouted towards the hillside. Those people's tracking skills were really not good, and they didn't pay attention to hygiene. Due to the wind direction, Yamato could smell the stench on them. Well, I found the enemy, but I didn't defeat them directly, but called them out, wasting my advantage. Alga in the dark made another note in her little notebook. According to the standards set by Arceus, she underestimated the enemy. But from another perspective, it can be said that she accurately judged the level of the enemy, so it was a slash instead of a cross. But those people didn't seem to believe Yamato's words and still hid under the hillside. Mariah chewed her mouth and spit a charged spider web directly into the sky. Then a series of screams rang out, and the few brothers of Adrago were suddenly reduced by more than half. So weak, is this the level of the East Sea? Mariah looked incredulous when she found that her attack had directly defeated the enemy. It was just the special spider silk that the electric spider itself possessed, not even a skill. It should be an exception. Pirate King Goldie Roger and Navy hero Garp were both born in this sea area. If I remember correctly, Uncle Mandafesh was also born in the East Sea, right? Look, isn't there a stronger one? Looking at the afro-haired Edriga, Yamato further confirmed his thoughts. At least this one was not directly electrocuted. Moreover, after walking out, Edriga stood in place with his mouth wide open, and a stream of energy gathered at the position of his mouth. After a few seconds of condensation, a blue-white beam was spit out by him towards Yamato, but the attack didn't seem to be very accurate. The attack he released only hit the ground behind them. Boom. After a loud bang, a big pit was left on the land next to him. His attack could only hit in a straight line, so he had to walk out to launch the attack. Seeing that the first shot missed, he charged up for a new attack. This was his most commonly used move, using his sonic cannon to bombard the enemy from a distance. Interesting, I want to do it too. Looking at the attack launched by Drago, Yamato suddenly became interested. After possessing the power, she also imitated the other party's big mouth, and seemed to be accumulating power in her mouth. Logically, her power should have been accumulated long ago, but she was waiting for the other party to accumulate power. After Adrago finally completed the accumulation of power, Yamato launched her own attack. Mushy Ice Fang. Accumulation of power still has some effect. This time, Mushy Ice Fang is more powerful than before. The blue-white sonic cannon and the ice-blue Mushy Ice Fang collide in the sky. Boom. There was another fierce explosion, but in the smoke and dust, Yamato's Mushy Ice Fang was not offset, but passed through the smoke and dust and hit the other party's body, leaving a huge ice sculpture on the island. It's done. Sister Olga, why are you here? Well, you can talk to Lord Arceus yourself. Olga brought the Den Mushi to Yamato, and the battle scene was broadcast live to Arceus. Although the result was a crushing victory, he was very dissatisfied with the process. Godfather? Yamato, your Mushiki Ice Fang doesn't need to be charged, right? Well, it can be released instantly. Then why are you charging with him? Do you think you are Ultraman? Do you have to fight with others? And you underestimated the enemy without actually fighting. Chapter 414, The Export of Goods from the Beasts to Fishman Island. Originally, he wanted to wait for Yamato to come back and then talk slowly, but tutoring a child is something that made him more and more angry. In the end, he couldn't help it. Her behavior can only be said to be a serious underestimation of the enemy. She chose to fight the opponent when she could directly attack and solve the opponent. Although this enemy is really weak and this has no effect, assuming that the opponent has a hidden big move, the result of doing this is to give the opportunity. If she had fought with the opponent for a few moves before doing this, he would not have called directly, but she only used her naked eyes and other people to judge the opponent's combat power. This behavior is not advisable at all. Her behavior is equivalent to estimating Roger's strength with Buggy's combat power, which has no reference value at all, so he called directly to give her a lecture. There are many people who have capsized in the gutter, and this kind of carelessness is not advisable. After a speech output, the Den Mushi fell silent. Yamato, I have two good news and one bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Two good news? Well, first of all, you can continue your treasure hunt. The other one is a gift from me. Lord Arceus is not angry. He is just too concerned about you and is anxious. I know this. My godfather is always like this, but what is Ultraman? He grabbed a blade of grass and held it in his mouth. He didn't take the scolding to Yamato to heart at all and asked about Alga Ultraman. I don't know either. Go back and ask Lord Arceus yourself. It may be a powerful creature, and don't you care what the bad news is? Yamato's reaction was completely out of the ordinary, so she had to bring it up herself. Yes, what is the bad news? The possibility of your solo voyage has been completely postponed indefinitely. Huh. This was the result she least wanted to hear, but things that had been decided could not be changed. In the end, she could only choose to cherish this treasure hunt. On the mountain peak of the island, they found Wunan's house, but there was only an empty room except for his body. According to his suicide note on the wall, he later returned all the treasures. Gold is just cold stone. Friendship and partners are more important. Maybe he is not a legend, but he should be a good pirate. Seeing his words, that seemed to be awakened, Yamato gave Unan a positive label and did not destroy this place according to his last wish. As for the E-Drag who was frozen into an ice sculpture, such a small character is not worth caring about at all. The Origin embarked on the journey home, and Yamato's vacation ended early. She began her new training and theoretical teaching on the ship. It will take a lot of time to return from here. This time is enough for Arceus to complete Yamato's special training and make up lessons. At the same time, on Fishman Island, Jack was also practicing his own skills. Fishman Jutsu, Sea Flow Shoulder Throw. Sea Flow Shoulder Throw, a classic move of Fishman Jutsu, can grab liquids and throw them out to attack or achieve some special purposes. Not only seawater, but even beverages such as black tea can be thrown out. Jack's current goal is to grab the water in the bucket, but it seems that he still needs to train for a long time. How is Jack's talent? Haku. Not bad, but not yet proficient. Brother Mandafesh, he's better than you in this aspect. Well, of course, he's a real fishman. Although fishman karate can be learned by any race, fishmen are definitely the most adept at it. At this time, Mandafesh is still in the form of Gyarados, and it is easier to be accepted here with this form. The group of fishmen is not just fish, there are also octopuses, whales, and sea urchins. Since revealing his true identity, his relationship with Rusalka has become closer, and he no longer has to worry about exposing anything. Those younger brothers who could not accept Mandafesh's identity turned to join Arlong's group, and began to live with Tiger, which was considered a new way out. Kajiro's department store also successfully took root in Fishman Island, and the unique products of the beasts allowed him to quickly open up the market on Fishman Island. At this time, some of his products have become essential supplies for mermaids, such as the belt on Rusalka's waist. Fishman Island is protected by bubble membranes and has no water inside. Most mermaids have no legs, so bubble coral is a must-have product on Fishman Island. All mermaids need to use bubbles blown by bubble coral to move freely, but the movement speed is very slow, so Kajiro applied for a batch of Sky Island specialties, wind shells. An ordinary belt plus 2 wind shells. The mermaid's special mobile propeller was made. Due to the characteristics of wind shells, as long as the wind is stored inside, it can be used freely, which is very convenient for mermaids. People on Sky Island usually store natural wind, but Fishman Island is deep in the sea and there is no strong wind, so Kajiro took this opportunity to launch a bundled consumption model. If you keep selling wind shells, people will soon lose interest, so he chose to sell wind. He got a blower. As long as you spend any time in his department store, even if you only spend 50 baileys to buy a lollipop, you can get a free wind recharge service. There are more than 2 million mermaids in Fishman Island, of which more than 80% are male mermaids and female mermaids under the age of 30. It can be said that everyone has a mermaid family member or relative. Although this service does not make money, it brings huge customer traffic. After seeing too much, there will always be people who want to buy things, so he opened up his own sales channel. The wind shells on Sky Island are not rare, and Fishman Island is not difficult to reach, but the Beast's pirates are the first to transport goods from Sky Island to Fishman Island for sale. At first, many people did not dare to come here, and even resisted it, but Otterheim was the first to visit this department store, and she created a celebrity effect for Kajiro for free. She is the person who most hopes that humans Fishmen and mermaids can get along equally. Kojiro is making money, but in Otterheim's view, this is just a small step for mermaids and fishmen to accept humans, so she helps him do that kind of thing. As Kojiro's department store successfully took root, more people were willing to listen to her speeches. The employees in the department store are all humans. They used facts to tell Fishman Island that not everyone is a scumbag, and there are also people in the human group who do not reject fishmen and mermaids. However, there are those who accept, and those who do not. Some radical element are very dissatisfied with Kojiro's department store. They are very dissatisfied with the humans who settled in Fishman Island, so they are planning how to drive them away. Chapter 415 The Strange Negotiation Table of the Imperial Vice Presidents. However, their plan was not realized in time, because in addition to Otterheim, Fisher Tiger also agreed with the existence of this department store. He also brought Jinbei and others here to stroll around and expressed his attitude. As the recognized boss of Fishman Street, his words are far more useful than Neptune when dealing with the gangsters of Fishman Street. That's great. If only all places could be like this. Looking at the clerk in Kojiro's department store, Tiger's face also showed a smile. Except for the pirate group outside, this is probably the first place where mermaids, fishmen, and humans work together, and it is also the first human enterprise that does not discriminate against mermaids and fishmen. As a department store, it appeared at the edge of Court Square in Fishman Island. This is a location closer to the center of Fishman Island, and it is also the only new large building in Fishman Island in recent years. In addition to his own products, there are also some vacant stalls for the local fishermen doing business in Fishman Island. This was the agreement between Otterheim and him at the beginning. This department store was permanently free for him to use, on the condition that the fishmen and mermaids were also provided with free stalls. It also indirectly promoted the economic development of Fishman Island. For example, Zyoba's takoyaki stall opened here. In order to cope with the market of mermaids, he also launched new products such as scallops. At this time, the Six Arms were busy and happy. Hey, Zyoba, business seems to be good. New, brother Tiger? The business here is really good. Do you want to have one? No, I just came out of Ryugu City. I work hard. It's good to have a decent livelihood. This is why Tiger supports the other party. There are many gangsters in Fishman Street. He doesn't want Fishman Street to become a lawless place that stirs up trouble, so he conquered the entire Fishman Street at the beginning. But at that time, even if he managed it, there was nothing he could do. If the fishermen could not fish for food in the deep sea by themselves, the situation in Fishman Street would only be worse. Now they have new jobs and can make their lives stable. Tiger is very happy to see this situation. As for those fishermen who didn't want to live this kind of life, most of them were gathered together by him, planning to go out to sea to become pirates after the Mirajoa plan. At that time, if they stayed in Fishman Island, it would cause trouble for the kingdom of Ryugu. Moreover, he heard from Otterheim about the plan of the deep sea mining company. If it went well, the people in Fishman Street would no longer be gangsters, so he planned to help settle down here before the action. With the dual support of Tiger and Otterheim, Kojiro's Fishman Island branch developed very smoothly, but the sea was not so peaceful. A gamble that made the odds of various odds in the new world continue to increase is finally coming to an end. The strength of the pirate group of the lone hero was average, and it could not last so long in the new world. However, due to various strange factors, this problem gradually rose to the issue of face of the emperors of the sea. At first, it was just Namor, Charlotte Opera and Scourge, and then reinforcements were gradually sent. In order to personally take the other party's head, the three parties had several conflicts, and everyone was constantly shaking people. Although the Beasts and Big Mom have some cooperation, the two sides are not as close as a family. They just don't invade each other's territory, and it is common for them to encounter some minor frictions at sea. However, it has now expanded to a fight between deputies. If it continues, Kaido and others will do it themselves. Such a small role is obviously not worthy of the Sea Emperors to take action personally, and they will not easily break out into a war, because it is not in their interests. In the absence of cheating ghosts, the battle between them will inevitably last for several days and nights. The aftermath of the battle is enough to destroy the nearby islands. No matter whose territory the war is started, the consequences are not what they are willing to bear. So the three parties are very clear that this is the final battle. The ending of the lone hero has been locked, and now we have to think about the face problem. Due to the special composition of the beasts, not only are there 2 managers, but also 2 deputies. Jin is still in Wano country because of his status as the general's official cheat. But Yamato and the others have been away for a long time, and most of the remaining children are in the stage of physical training, and there is no need for Shaina to train them personally, so this time Shaina is leading the team. Correspondingly, the leader of the Big Mom Pirates has become Katakuri, and the leader of the Whitebird Pirates is Marco. However, the 3 parties have not yet fought, but are negotiating the ownership of each other. Their respective intelligence has locked the island, where the other party is hiding, and they are just waiting to catch people. At this time, the island has been surrounded, and they are also negotiating on the beach of the island. Hey, I said that guy is making trouble in our territory. It is reasonable to hand him over to us, right? He stole the things that Mom prepared for other brothers and sisters. That is an unforgivable sin. That guy should be ours. This is a more serious negotiation, so no one has said trash talk, but Katakuri and Marco are secretly cursing each other for being stupid. Actually making trouble in Whitebird's territory, actually stole Big Mom's food. Originally, they were just chasing each other, and didn't know the other party's reason. It was not until this meeting that they figured out the reason. Then they looked at Shaina at the same time. Although pirates don't need any righteous reputation, Marco doesn't want his family to be killed or injured. Katakuri doesn't want his brothers and sisters to be injured in the battle, and Shaina doesn't want a 3-way melee, so they can sit down and talk. He tried to kidnap the family of our executive. It was also an irrefutable reason. The negotiation table fell into silence for a while, and the final means of solving the problem was still force. And they also confirmed one thing, using their own battles to determine the results, and not further expand the impact of the matter. No one wants to quit. This is not a place to take care of children, but I have a suggestion. Shaina, we have some cooperation after all. How about getting Marco out first? Katakuri's words of taking care of the child are about Marco. He is the youngest and shortest of the 3, but this sentence changed the balance of the battle. It was originally a 3-way melee, but Marco ignored the business dealings between Beasts and Big Mom. The triangle is stable. Originally, they would be wary of each other, but with Katakuri's suggestion, Marco became cautious. It would be difficult for him to deal with these 2 people joining forces. Chapter 416, Abnormal State and Burned Marco. Katakuri's reason was not without reason. Charlotte Linlin had been angry several times recently, otherwise he would not have come here, so he had to get a satisfactory result this time. He also thought that Marco was more difficult to deal with than Shaina, so he wanted to deal with the difficult person first, and then fight Shaina 1v1 again. In this way, even if there was a problem, it would be easier for Charlotte Linlin to accept that the person fell into the hands of the beasts than into the hands of Whitebird. In addition, the 2 pirate groups had already cooperated, so he took the opportunity to propose cooperation. After saying that, he did not even wait for Shaina to answer, and released the trident from his wrist. He is the ability user of the Mochi Mochi fruit, a very special superhuman type, who can transform his body into rice cakes, glutinous rice balls, and with his powerful observation haki, he can achieve the same effect as the natural type. He can change the shape of his body, create materials, and store items. The trident named Earth Dragon is usually stored on his wrist. The reason why he took action directly was very simple, because he had seen the scene where Shaina agreed to his proposal. This is the strength of his observation haki. His observation haki has been cultivated to the top level. Although he does not have the innate special abilities of Otterheim and Roger, he has reached the realm of being able to see the future. Ever since Broly was slashed on the face when he was a child, he wanted to be able to predict all dangers in order to protect his younger brothers and sisters, so he has cultivated to this level. Within a certain distance, the weaker the opponent, the farther he can see. If the opponent's observation haki is also strong, then what he can see is limited. Glutinous rice ball stab. Katakuri's arm turned into rice cakes, and then wrapped the trident. Then the arm made of rice cakes began to rotate at high speed, and the trident stabbed towards Marco with great power. At the same time as Katakuri flipped the table, Shaina's right foot was also wrapped in flames and kicked towards Marco, but Marco did not have no reaction. Although everyone can sit together to negotiate, it does not mean that they completely trust each other. It's just that the other party's decisiveness is beyond his expectations. With blue flames burning on his arms, Marco quickly retreated and temporarily found a safe area in the sky. However, the blue flame burning on his chest showed that Katakuri had indeed stabbed him. Marco is the user of the bird fruit, mythical beast, phoenix form. The blue flame of regeneration is the ability of his mythical beast. Although this flame does not cause any damage, the wound will be wrapped in this flame and then regenerated. Before the regeneration ability reaches its limit, Marco is the real phoenix. Hey, is this your negotiation? Obviously, we have reached an agreement temporarily. Someone has to be eliminated first. Shaina's figure appeared in front of Marco. The way she took off was more like a catapult start. The burst in a short distance was much faster than Marco. She came directly above Marco and wanted to force him back to the ground. Although she and Katakuri had never fought together before, they were all experienced warriors at their level, so there was no problem with the initial cooperation. Shaina's fists were wrapped in flames, and the airtight fist shadow hit Marco. Why do you have arms? This is not fair. Marco still had the time to reply, because Shaina did not attack with all her strength at this time. She and Katakuri were both holding back, because according to common sense, Marco would not be the opponent of the two of them. The outcome would be determined by the subsequent battle, so the two were observing each other's fighting style, such as she was using her hands instead of her feet now. That is a great power you cannot understand. The wing slapped, and an X-shaped flame flew towards Marco. In addition to the ability of Arceus transformation, the flying animal system would transform human arms into wings, which was not convenient in battle. And although they were reserved, they did not directly play a fake match. At this time, Katakuri's arms were transformed into the appearance of a minigun. Under his prediction, the dense rain of bullets blocked most of Marco's retreat. Unparalleled rice cake blade bullet. The mochi fruit has become very comprehensive under Katakuri's development. Both his own superhuman body and his creation can do it. A large number of rice cake bullets wrapped in domineering are shot into the air. It is not easy for him to dodge these attacks while fighting with Shaina. Blue flames began to burst out from his body. He is an animal type and cannot transform his body like a natural type, but relatively speaking, even if the damage caused by domineering will still be healed by him. Unless his physical strength is exhausted and he cannot use the flame of regeneration, or his ability to use abilities is suppressed by special items such as Seaston. Otherwise he must first use up his health bar to deal with Marco. His animal type ability also makes him extremely stamina, so although the damage in group battles is less than that of others, he is very difficult to deal with, which is why he can become the captain of the first team of the Whitebird Pirates. However, if it comes to health bars, few Lunarians are afraid, not to mention that they are not 1v1 now. Although Katakuri was not good at aerial combat, his combat radius was also very large. Marco was gradually forced to a low altitude area, which gave Katakuri more opportunities. Mochi punch. Crane claw. Since his hands had turned into wings, Marco's combat mainly relied on his legs. He and Shaina had been flying and colliding in the sky. Just now, Katakuri attacked him from the side and bottom with Mochi's body, while Marco kicked Katakuri with the inertia of flying. They had been fighting for a while, and even Marco's physical strength had been worn out a lot. While he was dealing with Katakuri, Shaina's knee hit him firmly in the chest. Facing the pincer attack of Shaina and Katakuri, he was directly knocked to the ground. But this was not the worst for him. Although the blow broke two of his ribs, it was not a big deal, after being repaired by King Iron. But at this moment, there was a stream of red flames on his body. Even if the blue flame repaired the damage there, the flame would soon reappear, so he could only use the blue flame to offset it. This was because in the battle with Shaina, he was hit by Shaina's flaming fist several times and eventually entered a state of burns. Under the additional damage of the burns, he had to use the blue flame continuously. It would be fine under normal circumstances, but after experiencing a high-intensity battle, his physical strength was greatly depleted, and he had to face such strong opponents, and no one gave him time to breathe, and the attacks of the two followed one after another. Chapter 417, The Awakening of the Devil Fruit, the confrontation between speed and prediction of the future. Grilled rice cakes. Fire feathers. Katakuri's right arm suddenly swelled up, and then the rice cakes on his arm exploded, and he fired his right fist out. Fierce flames were still gushing out from behind the rice cake fist, like a rocket booster, exerting more powerful force on the rice cake fist. The fist wrapped in domineering power was like a cannonball, and it made a huge explosion on the ground. Boom. The fire feathers all over the sky also shot down, and a sea of fire spread out from the smoke and dust originally stirred up by the fist. After the smoke and dust cleared, Marco climbed up with difficulty. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and the blue flames on his body continued to repair the wounds, but he felt very bad now. He could still use the blue flames to resist the strange flames, but as the flames burned, his body felt powerless. Facing Katakuri's next fierce attack, he was increasingly struggling to cope with it. Now he seemed to be poisoned, and his hands and feet could not use their full strength. His blue flames could offset the damage caused by the burns, but he was still affected by this aspect. Poison fire? No, what kind of ability is this? If it's poison, his blue flame can still be effective. If it can't be effective, it can only be attributed to the opponent's flame. His own flame can regenerate, so it seems that there is nothing wrong with the opponent's flame being able to do this. And this is the impact of burns. Physical attack will be weakened to a certain extent. Marco's flame has no means of attack. This is the most fatal impact on him. If he is a Pokemon, although he looks like a fire type, in fact, it is probably a flying plus fairy auxiliary Pokemon. The physical conditions of the two opponents are much better than his. He has no chance of winning if he continues to fight like this. It is not a life and death fight. In this state, he finally chose to withdraw. You are awesome. I'll give that guy to you. He was not convinced in his heart. After all, this time it was 2v1. If it was 1v1, the outcome would not be certain. When Marco admitted defeat, they did not continue to attack. After all, the three of them did not want to cause huge casualties because of such a small character. Although the status of the three major pirate groups as the Emperors of the Sea is almost unshakable, there are still many challenges. There are also many powerful remnants of the old era. If they fight and cause serious damage to their vitality, it would not be appropriate for anyone. After all, this matter does not touch anyone's fundamental interests. And losing to two people together, Marco's face is also justified. Hey, remove your ability. I guarantee with the reputation of the pirate flag that I will not participate in the next battle. This is already a very formal statement for pirates, especially for lieutenants like Marco, who all value their flags very much. It can't be removed. With your recovery ability, you can heal yourself after a period of time. Of course, she has a potion to cure burns, but she didn't give it to him. And even if Marco was temporarily burned, pirates can't trust everything. Although he guaranteed it in the name of the pirate flag, she still had to guard against Marco's return fire when she was fighting Katakuri. This is not a game, and burns are not permanent debuffs. Just like Marco feels powerless because of burns, but the reduction is indeed limited. After Marco decided to admit defeat and disappeared on the horizon, a new battle began again. Dad, I'm sorry, I lost. Gilila, it's okay, my child. Losing to the two of them together is nothing. Are you not injured? It's a little troublesome, but it's not a big problem. At this time, the effect of the burns was gradually reduced as Shaina said. Then come back. It's not worth fighting for a guy like that. The sailboat flying the white bird flag began to return, but the battle on the island became more intense. At this time, the flames behind Shaina were completely extinguished. She had abandoned her defense and increased her speed to the extreme. When fighting with Marco just now, she kept superimposing her acceleration state. In a one-on-one battle, Katakuri was very difficult to deal with. His observation haki that could predict the future made it difficult for Shaina's attack to work. Although he could not predict Shaina's actions in a few minutes, the short few seconds would also play a crucial role in their battle. Shaina did not have such a strong observation haki, so she had to do this, making her limbs faster than the opponent's reaction speed. Only when she reached a speed that Katakura's body could not keep up with her reaction, her attack would be effective. Boom. Katakura's body was torn apart in the middle and then reassembled. Just now, Shaina's flaming kick, which was wrapped in a strong domineering aura, still failed to hit the opponent, but a faint burn mark appeared on Katakura's face. The previous kick still rubbed his cheek. This is already your limit of speed. It's useless. You can't hurt me at this level. Admit defeat. I won this game. Through his foresight, he saw that this was the limit of Shaina's speed. Although Shaina's attack became very powerful under the superposition of sword dance, it was meaningless if the attack was strong enough to hit the target. What a joke. This is not enough. The flames behind her, symbolizing the Lunaria tribe, still did not rise, but the flames erupting from her wrists and ankles enveloped her entire body. An after image appeared behind her, and she attacked Katakuri again with her whole body wrapped in flames. Flash Charge, the most powerful melee skill she has mastered, is also an attack that exchanges injuries for injuries. With the explosion of Flash Charge, her speed once again broke through the upper limit. Cut Heavy Hammer Ice Cake. His observation haki told him that he could not dodge this attack. Even if his body was separated, the high temperature aftermath of the collision would cause damage, so he made a new decision. His swollen arms wrapped in haki began to rotate at high speed, and then swung towards Shaina. Boom. The fierce collision produced a huge mushroom cloud. The two figures retreated at the same time, and both sides were injured to a certain extent. Shaina abandoned all her defenses, and with the counter injury of Flash Charge, her body was not small. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Katakuri's condition was also not good. The high temperature penetrated into his body through his arms, and the huge impact force ran around in his body for a long time before stopping. Shaina was just about to continue the attack, but she found that the ground under her feet suddenly squirmed, and the two coconut trees originally on the coast turned into rice cakes and smashed towards her. Even under his feet, a sea of rice cakes appeared. Glutinous Fruit, Awakening. Chapter 418 Mega Evolution. Awakening is a manifestation of the power of devil fruits. As the power users develop their own abilities and increase their strength, very few people can touch the threshold of awakening. After the fruit awakens, the power user's abilities often become stronger. For the superhuman fruit, awakening means having the ability to change the surrounding things. The ability will have an impact on things other than the power user. At this time, a large number of objects on the coast were transformed into rice cakes by Katakuri. It seems that you will not admit defeat, so I have to knock you down. Chew you and you owe me. Katakuri smashed his fists to the ground, and under his attack, the beach transformed into rice cakes turned into hard rice cake strips that soared into the sky. Shaina's speed was extremely fast. In order to hit her, these rice cakes almost blocked all her directions of movement. The top-down attack made it inconvenient for her to fly, and the ubiquitous attack made it difficult for her to dodge. With the rain of attacks and the future foreseeing observation haki, Mochi hit her like a flurry of punches. In order to deal with this situation, she had to switch to the defensive form again. The flames on her back burned again, and the armed haki attached to her wings to form a protective wall. Boom. 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 A series of muffled sounds came. Although Katakuri's attack was temporarily blocked, it also created a vicious cycle. In order to block that attack, she had to give up her speed form. But if she gave up the speed form, she couldn't deal with Katakuri's observation haki that could predict the future. If she couldn't fight against this haki, she would be hit by the opponent's attacks continuously, and she could only use the defensive form to resist. At this time, she was almost trapped in a closed loop. Although she used attacks such as jet flames, they couldn't hit Katakuri at all. Super strength Mochi. He also discovered that Shaina's speed had slowed down. He regarded it as Shaina reaching her limit, so he planned to hurry up and end this battle. A donut made of rice cakes appeared above his arm, and as he swung his fist, a huge rice cake fist also swung out. This time, Shaina's fire kick failed to hit the target. Katakuri predicted her movement and hit her abdomen at a special angle. Although the damage was not high, it had already made the situation of the battle begin to favor him. You have already lost. You are not my opponent after awakening. Awaken. At this time, Shaina must reach the speed of the speed form while maintaining a defensive posture. Only in this way can she break this closed loop, but the effect of acceleration is limited. If she wants to do that, she must achieve a breakthrough. As the first person to follow Arceus, Arceus did not treat her badly. She can form several sets of corresponding skills, and she has also asked about awakening. After all, the awakening of the fruit is not a secret to Kaido. She is also very curious whether Arceus's power can be awakened, and Arceus has given her that power. Mega Evolution belongs to the Super Evolution of Pokemon. Unlike the original return, the Mega Evolution of most Pokemon is a transcendent form. Because the ability is stronger than the original, the body cannot maintain this state for a long time. In the Pokemon world, Mega Evolution requires the assistance of Mega Stone and Keystone. But they are like the existence of ability users. It is impossible to find a trainer, so the power was integrated into their bodies in a special way by him. Just like awakening, as long as they are trained to a certain degree, they can master this power. Just like the light of evolution of Mandafesh, the ability has been given, and whether it can break through depends on oneself. Although the animal fruit can also awaken, it is very different from the superhuman fruit in terms of expression. The awakening of the animal fruit usually brings unparalleled recovery or a larger body size, and if the awakening fails, it may become a monster like the jailer beast. She didn't experience that feeling from Kaido, but Katakuri today seemed to make her understand something. Awakening. As an excellent observation haki teacher and awakening second generation teacher, Shaina found the last threshold by analogy with the feeling of this ability. At this time, a different image flashed in Katakuri's eyes. Before he could react, a pillar of fire shot straight into the sky. Under the flames, Shaina's figure also changed. The yellow feathers turned black, the claws became sharper, and the flames on the wrists fluttered in the air like wristbands. Unparalleled donuts. Several donuts made of rice cakes appeared behind Katakuri, and fists made of rice cakes kept hitting out of them. Shaina, like before, used her wide wings to resist Katakuri's attacks, but the result was different. In the gap between Katakuri's attacks, Shaina disappeared. So fast. Since he cultivated his observation haki to this level, this was the first time he had such a feeling. The flying kick burning with fire kicked towards his head. Although he wanted to turn into a rice cake to avoid this attack, Shaina's attack speed was already faster than his evasion speed. Shaina's claws were burning. Mega Blaziken's leg strength was stronger than Blaziken's. Because of its extremely fast speed, its feet would rub against the air and burn violently, and the temperature in its body would rise as a result, making its energy and speed even better. The hot flying kick hit Katakuri's neck. The extremely high kick speed and the attached domineering aura made his evasion completely ineffective, and he was kicked out. Boom. Even the ground, that had turned into rice cakes, made a violent noise under the high-speed collision. Awakening vs Super Evolution, the superhuman and animal types fought more fiercely on the island. Super strong rice cakes. Flame kick. Shaina's high temperature also had a certain restraint on Katakuri's rice cakes. The high temperature flames would dry and brittle the sticky rice cakes. At this time, the balance of victory began to tilt back to Shaina's direction. The battle ended with Katakuri's surrender. The two could indeed continue to fight, but in that case it would not be a matter of who was better, but a matter of life and death. After seeing himself fall on his back, Katakuri chose to admit defeat first. Just like Marco, this is better than being completely knocked down. That guy is yours now, but you won't let him go, right? I can't explain to my mother if I do that. No, that guy's fate has already been determined. Shaina threw a small bottle of medicine to Katakuri. Burn medicine. Thanks. Unlike Marco, the two pirate groups have cooperated a lot after all. Since the battle is over, there is no need to continue to fight. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419. Drug-fueled version of sit-ups. Ulti misses Yamato. Brother Katakuri. Don't worry, I will explain to mom, and as long as I see that guy's body, mom's anger will disappear by half. Katakuri touched his neck. The burn medicine produced by the beasts is very effective. Although it has not healed yet, he can no longer feel the burn. Opera, go back and arrange for someone to purchase a batch of this medicine. The chefs in the kitchen should be able to use it. Got it, Brother Katakuri. Katakuri's words are very effective among brothers and sisters. Even Perispero, who is older than him, has to refer to his opinions. After all, he is the strongest person in the Big Mom Pirates except Charlotte Linlin. And because Charlotte Linlin often does some unreasonable behaviors as she grows older, many of the affairs of the Big Mom Pirates are handled by him as the second in command. In addition, he has always been dedicated to protecting his younger brothers and sisters, so he has a high reputation in the Big Mom Pirates. The purchase of burn medicine was also due to the situation of the Big Mom Pirates. After all, their ovens are working almost 24 hours a day, and it is inevitable that the chefs will get injured in the kitchen. For chefs, their hands are their second life. Even a very minor wound may affect the feel of the hand, thus causing the taste of the food to change. This kind of thing is okay in other places, but once Charlotte Linlin's food cravings occur on Cake Island, it will be a big crisis, so this medicine is of great strategic value. After all, 95% of the damage to Cake Island is due to Charlotte Linlin's own problems. And Katakuri did not leave directly. Charlotte Linlin is different from Whitebird. He has to take back some photos as evidence. However, on the island, a very special thing happened. The lone hero died, and died of the betrayal of his men. They saw the battle on the beach through a telescope on the island. Even Marco, who was the first to leave, showed a monster-like fighting power. The battle between monsters is not scary. What is scary is that these monsters fight to decide who will kill them. Newsbird did not block this group of lone heroes, so they also saw the news report written by Morgans. At first they still had courage, but as the situation gradually escalated, their spirit was also worn out. There was no way to fight against such a monster. In order to calm their anger, this group of people chose to betray and wanted to use their captain's head in exchange for their own hope of survival. So while Shaina and Katakuri were dueling, those people also had a fight and finally killed the captain and his confidants at the cost of more than half of the casualties. However, their actions were destined to be futile. They had participated in those things at the beginning. Since they participated in this matter, there was no possibility of being forgiven. After all this, they were ready to return to Onigashima, and Katakuri was also ready to return to Ongyuo after collecting evidence. However, not long after leaving the island, Shaina encountered new troubles. Big Sister, it's an agent of the world government. Looking at the cross flag on the sail, the lookout quickly made a judgment, and they also directly attacked Shaina's ship. The 3 emperors inexplicably began to encircle an ordinary newcomer, which made the world government feel something was wrong, but they had no chance to land before. Marco, Katakuri, and Shaina surrounded the island. Although their relationship was not very harmonious, facing the agents of the world government, these pirates would most likely temporarily join forces, and they were not sure about facing 3 ships at the same time. So they just secretly observed from a distance, waiting for their results, and finally caught up with Shaina, the winner. Big Sister, that ship is wrong. Their speed is very fast. Our ship can't get rid of them. Prepare to meet the enemy. Shaina shook her wrist and took out a withered herb from her arms and then stuffed it directly into her mouth. It's really bitter. The bitterness made her feel uncomfortable, but it was followed by the recovery of strength. The dying state of Pokemon is not real death, but exhaustion of physical strength. The resurrection herb is a powerful recovery agent, not a magical object that reverses life and death. At this time, under the power of the drug, Shaina's physical strength recovered quickly, and when the ship behind caught up, it had recovered 90%. This directly broke the plan of the group. They thought that Shaina had experienced 2 battles, so they wanted to come and pick up a loophole, but they didn't expect to hit the iron plate again. Facing her who had recovered her physical strength and mastered Mega Evolution, those people were no match at all, and soon there was another shipwreck on the sea. This incident ended here, and in this incident, the casino made a lot of money. The gamblers bet on who would kill this group of people. It was okay to bet on the team. After all, they eventually died at the hands of the beast pirates, but there were still many people who bet on the fate of the lone hero alone. No one expected that this group of lone heroes would fight internally, and eventually no one won, and the dealer killed them all. On the Ghost Island, the departure of a large number of people made it much emptier, and because Yamato also went out, the training ground, that was noisy every day, became much quieter. Big brother Jack hasn't come back yet. Little Pei, I told you not to call that perverted big brother, and wouldn't it be better if he didn't come back? But sister, you also asked yesterday why Yamato and the others haven't come back yet. Don't call her sister. You only have me as your sister. Big brother was fine, but when she heard Peggy 1 calling someone else sister, she got even more mad. She held Peggy 1 in her arms and kept rubbing his head and began to repeatedly instill this thought. Ahaha, you look quite energetic. Come on, new training is about to begin. A slightly terrifying voice appeared behind them, and even Ulti shuddered. She did miss Yamato and the others a little now. Although she didn't admit it, they were now considered ordinary playmates. However, Ulti didn't miss Yamato because of this. It was because of Kaido. When Yamato and the others were there, Kaido's focus was not on her and Peggy 1, but with the departure of Yamato and the others, and Shaina's going out, Kaido, who had nothing to do, set his sights on the two of them, and began his special physical training. No, Peggy and I have other things to do. Huh, that won't work. Then Ulti found herself off the ground. Kaido grabbed her, and Peggy 1 in each hand. At this moment she missed Yamato, who could share Kaido's attention. Chapter 420, Kaido Stress Syndrome. 1506. Everyone who went out returned to Onigashima one after another, and the origin appeared again in the waters near Wano country. Yamato had already seen the barrier outside Wano country. Seeing this barrier, she was not happy at all. For her, this meant that the summer vacation was over, and she would soon return to the cage. And there was a perverted teacher waiting for her inside. Yamato, what are you doing? At this time, Yamato looked at the sky with a vigilant face, and had entered the human beast form, as if guarding against something. According to the past practice, father will definitely make a surprise attack, and this time he has been out for so long, it must be more deadly than before. In a sense, this is a disease. The scientific name is Kaido Stress Syndrome, due to too much teaching from Kaido, resulting in an overreaction. I hope you have this vigilance when you are sailing outside. Don't be nervous. There is no need to train today. I have already told him. Looking at the highly nervous Yamato, Arceus still let her relax, but her worry was reasonable. According to Kaido's character, even if he didn't do anything today, he would have to make a surprise test tomorrow. In Yamato's mind, Kaido, as his biological father, is far more dangerous than the people outside, so he is alert. The origin entered the submarine port with ease. Compared with the submarine port many years ago, it has been expanded and renovated to a certain extent, and it is more convenient for the main ship of the beast pirates to enter and exit here. However, just after coming out of the submarine port, Yamato looked up at the sky. She seemed to hear some screams, and two black shadows gradually appeared in her sight. What is that, Mariah? Can you see it clearly? With her palm on her forehead to block the sunlight, Yamato squinted her eyes, but the distance was too far. She still couldn't see what the black shadow was. It seems to be Xiaopei and Ulti? Yes, it's them. Yamato, you've been out for a long time this time. I hope you have learned something useful. Kaido had come to the ship at some point, and his big hand directly pressed on Yamato's head, and made extremely dangerous remarks. You'd better let me see the results tomorrow, otherwise, they definitely won't fall to death. Even if they can't fly, Kaido will catch them with a flame cloud in the middle, but he didn't say anything about this, so in the eyes of the siblings, this is murder. Sister, don't move around, be careful not to fall. Page 1 in the form of Garchomp is trying to fly. He is only a 4-year-old child, and Garchomp's flight is different from that of birds, so before he could only glide at low altitude for a short distance. It is equivalent to needing someone to help you ride a bicycle. In order to speed up his learning process, Kaido directly tricked him into a big downhill slope tied Ulti to the back seat, and then pushed him down, which can be called a death teaching method. Little Peggy, you are the best. It's worth my previous concern for you. Wait. Sister, don't touch my neck, it's going to flip over. He tried to control his balance during the high-speed fall, but Ulti's disturbance almost made him flip over. Well, father, why do I feel that they can't fly? Seeing Ulti and page 1 getting closer and closer to the ground, and with no sign of taking off, Yamato had a bad feeling. Don't worry, it's still quite high. Kaido was still very calm, but the falling siblings were different. The strong airflow brought by the high altitude fall disrupted his body's balance, so he couldn't fly. At this time, the scales on his body were constantly feeling the flow of the wind, and special organs were also trying to change the airflow passing through his body. Finally, when he was still a few hundred meters from the ground, he successfully flew up. Under the tiny scales, countless tiny jets were formed. With the impact of the airflow, he got rid of gliding for the first time, and began to fly truly. Aha, I knew that kid still had potential. Just push him a little. Although Kaido was affirming page 1, for some reason, Yamato felt that something dirty was staring at him, and suddenly had a chilling feeling. When she and Kaido looked into each other's eyes, she understood where this sense of crisis came from, and it can be concluded that life tomorrow will never be simple. However, page 1 finally crashed, leaving a long trace of the crash on the white dance grass. Ziope, are you okay? Ziope, I'm fine, but sister, next time, can you not jump on my back? With a mouthful of dirt, page 1 roared helplessly. He did know how to fly, but Ulti was more excited than him, so when he was about to land, page 1 still flipped over. Okay, next time for sure. Now, Ziope, take me flying again, it's so fun. Huh. Seeing that page 1 had mastered flying, and continued to exercise his flying ability with Ulti's assistance, Kaido stopped staring at them, and disappeared without a trace. In the Onigashima office, the departure of Arceus and Shaina caused a pile of documents here, which were all the parts that Quinn and Athi, who were substitute employees, could not handle. A creature or device suitable for deep sea mining. This is the report sent back by Kojiro. In the report, he affirmed the development potential of Fishman Island, and also raised some issues of the mining company. Mining by relying solely on the manpower of the fishermen is too slow, so they need some new large-scale equipment and means to drive away the Sea Kings. It is difficult to solve this problem with manpower, so the report was sent here. Chapter 421, The Pot King becomes uncomfortable without a pot. Undersea mining. Mining on land is easy. Professional Gulliver, less professional Onyx, Geodude, and Rock type of Cayman can all be excellent miners. Gulliver's working ability is even better than that of professional machines. But the deep sea environment of Fishman Island is different. Rock type Pokemon are afraid of water. Even the Seaston Pokemon unique to Wano country are not so afraid of water, but they can't live in the deep sea. Crystal Onyx, a unique species, can soak in shallow water, but it can't live in the deep sea. If you want to work in the deep sea, then water type Pokemon becomes the best option. While he was thinking about the species, the omnipotent Quinn was called over again. Are you hungry? At this time, Quinn was holding a bucket of rice cake and red bean soup. It seemed that he was eating when he was called just now. Lord Arceus, this thing won't taste good if it gets cold, and I lost weight recently, so I need to replenish it. If you have anything to say, just tell me, I can remember it. He picked up the spoon and reached into his soup pot. At least he didn't ask, do you want to eat some? This indirectly reflects Quinn's obsession with rice cake and red bean soup, and after his improvement, it was a bucket of banana flavored rice cake and red bean soup. Can deep sea mining machinery be built? Well, not really. Deep sea machinery is different from land. I don't know much about that. He is a person with special abilities, and most of his research on machinery is used on himself. He doesn't know much about machines that can work in the deep sea. Judging from his current energy, he doesn't have time to do that thing. Forget it then. We brought back a lot of platinum and lead this time. Go and study how to decompose that stuff. Don't consider practicality. Just give me a research report that can fool outsiders. Oh, and use gentle means. Preparations for the next action have also begun. This report is for outsiders to see. It is not difficult to get platinum and lead products in the outside world. This method is for them to test. Anyway, they can't find patients with platinum lead disease now. If it is confirmed that this method can decompose platinum and lead, the credibility of drug treatment can be increased. The reason why it should be gentle is that this method will eventually be used in the human body. If it produces something like concentrated sulfuric acid corrosion, or a large amount of high temperature is released during the reaction, even a fool will know that it is a lie. No problem, I will go and test it with a seal later. This process should not be difficult. As an expert in mineral materials, it will be much easier for him and us to cooperate in dealing with this matter. Then Quinn lifted the iron bucket of rice cake and red bean soup and drank all the remaining rice cake and red bean soup. However, halfway through the drink, he suddenly thought of something. Lord Arceus, this matter, I will not be the one to do it again. It's about taking the blame. He has already taken enough blame. When Olga sent back the plan with Rotom, Quinn saw it. This matter needs a famous doctor to take the blame. Although reputation is a good thing, he really doesn't want to continue to take the blame. If this continues, I'm afraid that the CP department will not set up a special team against the beasts, but a special team against Quinn. Oh, it's not you this time, you can't do this. Although the senior executives of the Beast's Fruit are all members of the Beast's Pirates, they are very special. At least their identities are clean on the surface. They are the white gloves of the Beast's Pirates, using code names to contact the insiders just to prevent people outside from having a handle. This time they need a legitimate doctor, and neither Quinn nor Nakin is suitable for this. Even if Nakin's reputation is not as good as Quinn's, she was once a cadre of the Walled Pirates. Her identity cannot stand up to scrutiny. Ordinary people may not believe what a pirate says. The great secret treasure is an exception. The mysterious value of that thing is too great, so countless people choose to sail for Roger's treasure. However, since it is related to their lives, they have to consider it, even if they don't believe it, but it is not as good as a doctor. At this time, a mysterious R&D department has been set up inside the 100 Beasts Fruit. They are the geniuses who have conquered platinum lead disease to the outside world, but in fact this department is empty, and there is only a representative they nominated. Huh, that's good. Strange. Why do I still feel empty in my heart? After hearing that he was not the one to take the blame, Quinn suddenly had a very strange feeling. Illusion. But although you don't have to take the blame, you still have a lot of things to do. This is the treatment of the nun. According to the method you came up with to decompose platinum and lead, combine them together. It's still the same requirement. Practicality doesn't matter, but it must be professional and can withstand scrutiny. It's not difficult to decompose platinum and lead into blocks. The factory in Freffen smelts platinum and lead in countless ways. A large number of platinum and lead products are produced in this way. The difficult part is to remove the platinum and lead accumulated in the human body. That thing has almost reached the cellular level. Without the bug level ability of the surgery fruit, external forces can't do it at all, so they need a professional overview. In the next few days, Quinn's main task will be to write a paper. Arceus is an old man from the last era, and he doesn't know medical skills. Nakin is a wild person. They can't write very professional things at all. Don't worry, I'm still very good at this kind of thing. Without considering practicality, an idealized paper, this kind of thing is too easy to do. Excuse me, do you have any other requests? Let them know that this is a very valuable technology, and the production cost is very high, so the price is so high. Add some rare, expensive but useless harmless drugs. The plan has already begun on the Ghost Island, and Tizulo, one of the executors, is now in a slightly luxurious private room on the Red Earth continent, waiting for the person he wants to meet. He came to manage the relationship, otherwise such a big mess would be made, and the development of the 100 Beasts Fruit would be restricted. The people in the world government don't care about Frevens' affairs, nor do they care about the outside reputation. The reason they control this matter is to continue to make money with platinum and lead. As long as the profit they bring to them can fill this gap, or even bring greater benefits, they will even add fuel to the fire in this matter. What's the matter? I'm very busy. Take a look at this. Tizulo, what are you doing? I'm an official of the world government. Do you think I agree with this? For the sake of the past, hurry up and leave. Don't worry, sir, you can get this number. Chapter 422, Lucky Fruit and Swampert. Tizolo didn't say it explicitly, but he shook hands with the other party. Well, it's not impossible to negotiate. If we can cure platinum lead disease, it will be a great breakthrough. The feeling in his palm made him excited. This matter is indeed difficult to handle, but if it is done well, there will be huge profits. Sir, we also want to make money. Although he said so, Tizolo still raised his price. The share he proposed was far from his upper limit. It is impossible for Tizolo to reveal his bottom price right away. The other party did not refuse, which means that this matter can be done. It depends on how much money to be shared. You have to take care of the people above you, and you have to feed the people below you. You are not sincere enough. One should not be too greedy. Mrs. Wadwick and Stella have a good relationship recently. If this number is not enough, you can only give up this time. Deal. Don't worry, no one will make things difficult for you in the future. For the sake of old friends, I will help you get the license of your medical department. Happy cooperation. Tizolo stroked his plain glasses, just to make himself look more literary. The one who made the most money from this business was not the 100 beasts fruit, but those people. He gave out 60% of the profit. In fact, the highest share he could accept was 70%. As long as it was properly operated, the rest would also be huge profits. But in order to feed those guys above, he had to choose to bleed heavily. That person was not joking about taking care of the people above. Although 60% of the profit was huge, he didn't get much. The celestial dragons, some royal families, and officials above him were the real big players. Compared with this, the money taken by those people below was simply a drop in the bucket. The fruit of the beasts is a long-term business. If the future development is damaged due to temporary profits, it will be more trouble than gain. HMPH, wait, sooner or later you will have to spit it out for me. Let's go, Baccarat. This time I will take you to meet a big shot. You must perform well. Tesoro left here with a girl with orange hair. This was a girl he found by chance. Because of her unique ability, he adopted her. The smooth negotiation this time was also related to her, because she was the ability user of the superhuman lucky fruit, which could change people's fortunes. Some good luck can always affect many things inadvertently. Because of joining the beasts, Tesoro seemed to have been infected with the hobby of picking up children. The special nature of the lucky fruit made Tesoro also cultivated as his confidant. It happened that Stella also liked this child, so they adopted her temporarily. Can I play with Ziobe? The cat boss's figure may not be cute enough, but the streamlined figure like a puma also has a special beauty. The cat boss living in Tesoro's home successfully attracted Baccarat's attention. It can if it wants to, but be careful not to get scratched. I've always had good luck, it's okay. But as she said this, a security guard who was more fierce than her was inexplicably tripped by the raised floor outside the door, and then knocked over the hot soup held by the waiter and screamed. Baccarat's lucky fruit perfectly demonstrates what the law of conservation of luck is. When someone is lucky, there is always someone who is unlucky. Baccarat can't give a person luck out of thin air. Her luck is plundered from others. Through a brief contact, before entering the door, she took away a certain amount of good luck from the other person. In normal times, good luck and bad luck are in a state of balance. When good luck is taken away, bad luck will naturally come. This is also a bug ability on the original timeline. In the casino, she can control the life and death of a gambling table with this ability. Even cheating can't compare with her luck ability. Her battle is very special. She only needs to throw a coin and luck will help her accomplish some things. However, this ability can only deal with some small scenes. The battles of real strong people are already difficult to be influenced by luck. Even the rudder on the golden lion's head only appeared after the battle. Without staying for too long, Tizolo took Baccarat on a ferry. His next trip was also quite busy. He had to go to Onigashima to take over the specific matters of the specially swindle the rich plan. After that, he would decide some details with the person who accepted his bribe. After dealing with this matter, he would go to Fishman Island to discuss the issue of the mining company. Although he was not as busy as Quinn, he had to work a few more days. After a while, a group of new water-type Pokémon were appearing on Onigashima. They also worked part-time to search for slate in the waters near the mining. Ordinary Pokémon could not sense his slate, so finding it was completely a matter of luck. At least the Pilgrim Magikarp army had not brought back any valuable information, so this time it was considered an increase in manpower. It can live underwater, cause enough damage to the rock formations, and has the ability to mine minerals. After thinking about it, he finally decided on the Pokémon Swampert. A swampfish Pokémon with a blue back, black fins, and a white belly, usually walking on 4 legs. Transformed from the mudskippers living in the swamps of Wano country. The special fins on the body are special organs unique to Swampert. It can sense the changes in the waves and wind, so as to predict the arrival of storms, and adjust the dates of mining work. Some Swamperts live in environments such as swamps. In order to adapt to this environment, their eyes have also evolved in a special way, so that they can see each other clearly even in turbid muddy water. Mining under the sea will inevitably roll up a lot of mud and sand. This special structure can play a miraculous role in underwater mining. In addition, Swampert has a very terrifying power. Even if the cruise ship is stranded on the sea, it can drag the ship forward. The load of its arms is very large, and can easily lift a 1-ton boulder. The arm muscles are well developed, and can easily break solid rocks. Whether it is mining or moving ore, it can save a lot of time and manpower. With Swampert in front and the fishman following behind, the mining of ore should be much smoother. Compared with mining, the harassment of sea beasts and sea kings is actually more troublesome. Most people can't deal with those giant sea kings in the deep sea. The reason why Poseidon can become one of the 3 ancient weapons is because of her ability to control giant sea kings. For this world dominated by the ocean, it is definitely a natural disaster. The overall strength of the fishmen is not strong. Once they provoke those giant sea kings that are several thousand meters long, even Manderfish can't do anything to them. The buffer of seawater plus the monster-like body size makes a punch on them like a tickle. However, this is not a solution. Although there are no ancient weapons in Pokémon, there is another special existence. Regarding the prices near the Golden Island, Luffy and Zoro ate hundreds of servings of Odin and spent 11 baileys, so the prices are just low. Chapter 423, Manaphy, Prince of the Sea. The sea is vast in any world, and the same is true in the world of Pokémon. There is more than one powerful Pokémon related to water. Kaido, who created the ocean, Lugia, who controls the ocean currents, and the life that Arceus intends to create this time, a Pokémon that can command marine life, the Prince of the Sea, Manaphy. Manaphy does not need to create the ocean, or change the ocean currents. Although Sea Kings are not Pokémon, Manaphy cannot control them as arbitrarily as Sea Kings, but it can still protect an area from being harassed by Sea Kings, and persuade Sea Kings there to move. This is also the difference in their authority. Kaido is better at creating the ocean, Lugia is better at controlling ocean currents, and Manaphy still has to rely on creatures. The water drops late emerged from the body, and a drop of the purest water condensed by the water drops late appeared in this world. The energy of the slate continued to be injected, and the water drop began to expand like an embryo. As the volume gradually increased, the body made of water droplets began to solidify. 2 long tentacles appeared on the top of the head, with 2 cute balls at the end. The dark blue pupils had yellow whites, and yellow spots formed his eyelashes. The 2 slender arms were longer than the body, but the legs were short and thick, almost integrated with the body. As a ruby-like object condensed on the chest, Manaphy's eyes also had a new look. After coming here, there were many Pokémon that were transformed or created, and Pokémon also bred many offspring. However, compared with those ordinary Pokémon, these mythical beasts that consumed the power of the stone slabs were the highlight. The eldest son's Aurora, the eldest daughter Diancie, and now the second son Manaphy. Strictly speaking, the mythical beasts are genderless, but he gave them gender recognition. Adding these Pokémon together, he can also make an Arceus family. Mana, Master, it seems a bit cold here. With a tremor, Manaphy jumped onto the head of the Swampert beside him. 80% of Manaphy's body is made of water, which is easily affected by the external environment. As the second son, Manaphy also has the ability to speak. At this time, the swampert under him did not have any intention of resisting. Even if Manaphy touched the fin on its head, it did not respond. This is Manaphy's ability. Even if he does not speak, his innate power can make him and other Pokémon communicate with each other. This is also the way he commands other Pokémon in the ocean. Close the window. It is a little cooler in the autumn night. A swampert walked over and raised his hand to close the window. It was already late autumn, and the cold air after Linghao blew towards Onigashima because of the wind direction, so there was a feeling of coldness. Tomorrow you can try to go to a farther sea area to see the effect of contact with those sea kings. Due to the special ocean currents near Wano country, there are no nests of sea kings. Most of them live in the calm belt or deep sea like the waters of Fishman Island. The distribution of seabed mineral deposits is not regular. They may be in the deep sea or in the shallows. However, due to the location of Fishman Island, the location of mining will definitely not be too far away from Fishman Island. In this environment, it is inevitable to deal with sea kings. Manaphy must find a real sea king to test the effect. Those super large sea kings are smarter than ordinary sea kings. If ordinary ones can work, super large ones should not be a big problem. The sea water is relatively cold at night. Although this chill is nothing to Manaphy, he has just been born after all, and Tesoro has not arrived at Onigashima yet. Even if he arrives at Onigashima, he has to deal with Platinum and Lead first, so he is not in a hurry. In the absence of urgency, there is naturally no reason for Manaphy to go out to work overtime at night. However, at this time, the room suddenly shook twice, as if there was an earthquake. Master, it's okay, you will get used to it in the future. This kind of thing is not uncommon. His office is on the top floor of Onigashima, and above it is a practice field on the roof. There is only one explanation for this movement. Kaido has started a surprise attack again. Then suddenly there was a bang, and the window, that had just been closed, was knocked open again. It can be seen that the quality of the window is very good, and the glass did not break under this impact. As the window was knocked open, Yamato rolled sideways and appeared here. There seemed to be a spider silk floating outside the window. It seemed that she jumped down by swinging on Mariah's spider silk. Yamato? Godfather, let me rest for a while. I'm so tired, she said, lying on the ground and panting. This was the task Kaido had just given her. Escape to a safe place under his attack. As long as one of them can reach a safe place, then today's training will be over. With Kaido's letting her go and Mariah's cooperation, she finally found this opportunity. When facing Kaido, her combat IQ will be completely full. The moment Kaido made the request, she thought of the so-called safe place. Now there is no place in the entire Onigashima that can deal with Kaido. Only by making him afraid to act rashly can the so-called safety be achieved. The underground arsenal of Onigashima, Arceus office, and Athis laboratory, only these places will attract Kaido's attention. The arsenal was too far away, and Arceus would be unhappy if she messed up the lab, so she chose Arceus office. She bet that Arceus was working at this time, and it turned out that her bet was right. After a long pause, she stood up again. Godfather, have you created a new Pokémon again? Hello, I'm Yamato. Mana, I'm Manaphy. A giant swampert approached Yamato, and the Manaphy on its head also stretched out its arms. Can you talk? Are you also a special Pokémon like Diancie? Then can you make rubies? Diancie, who has diamonds on her body, can pinch diamonds at will. Looking at Manaphy with a ruby drop on her chest, Yamato had this illusion. No, but I can do this. A Yamato made of water appeared in front of Yamato, and imitated her movements like a mirror. After the power of Evergreen met the ability of Manaphy, they quickly became familiar with each other. Although he didn't have the same exclusive partner as Diancie, he still regarded her as a close partner. Relying on the power of controlling water, they quickly became friends. Outside Onigashima, a small boat approached Wano country under the cover of night, and caught up with the last supply ship. Tesoro came to Wano country again. Recent comments are not displayed. Only the author's background can see them. But you can't see my reply. It will be fine in a few days. When the day comes, everyone will understand. Chapter 424, Insufficient Authority, Clan begins. Mr. Tezulo, where is this? Our real headquarters. Don't talk nonsense. I'm taking a risk by bringing you here. This is a little bit exaggerated, but it is also true. These are the people he recruited from outside. There are not many people who are good at managing business in Beishao, so Arceus gave power to Tizulo, allowing him to recruit people by himself. He can't manage the entire company alone. He has recruited some people over the years, and he still has some management ability, but Bakura is the first person he brought to Onigashima, mainly because her ability is special. Beishao will never refuse a talented person, unless the person is a traitor. Okay, I'll pay attention. Don't be so nervous, it's not that serious, and there are many children here, but don't use your ability here. Bakura's ability is that she can't control it well. She can only decide good luck or bad luck. Everything else depends on fate. As long as her luck is against the sky, her fruit ability may not have any effect. The environment outside Wano country was a little scary under the cover of night. Occasionally, some huge figures flashed in the water. As the waterfall of the harbor was opened, Tesoro also brought Bakura to the entrance of Beiwu. Bakura, stop looking, it's time to go. Oh, here I come. Tesoro carried his backpack and walked out. Habit becomes nature. When he comes to Onigashima, he always instinctively brings some gifts. He doesn't need to bring gifts of Kaido or Arceus level, because there is no point in bringing them. These gifts are prepared for children like Yamato or Wakadas like Quinn. As long as he does his job well, Arceus will not treat him unfairly, no matter what he does. But it is very important to handle the relationship with the people below. Yo, you're here. Yes, Lord Arceus meant. Go in. Lord Arceus is still in the office. For example, now, some people on the road greeted him. Lotto, identity unknown, no entry, please stop, Lotto. However, his identity card did not include Bakura's identity, so he could go in, but Bakura was stopped by Rotom. She's my new recruit, can't I bring her in? Insufficient authority, Lotto, please get an ID first, Lotto. Rotom's work in this regard is very procedural. Tesoro is not often on Onigashima, so his authority is limited. Just as he was struggling, Quinn came in from outside, holding a thick stack of papers in his hand, and some dark circles could be seen around his sunglasses. This was the paper he had recently revised, after staying up late. After several revisions, it was finally finalized. He just took these to the Beast Pokemon Center. These doctors hired by Beast are also famous doctors in the world. It is of certain reference value to let them take a look at the report. After several rounds of checking for deficiencies and filling in the gaps, Quinn has solved some loopholes in this regard. He even asked some doctors from Ohara to take a look. Some of them have research directions involving ancient medicine and minerals, and many of them have published papers at the world government. While revising, they also repolished it. Just now was his last revision, and the doctors at the Pokemon Center couldn't find any problems this time, so he came to Arceus to report. Tesoro, you're here so early? Why don't you go in? Brother Quinn, aren't you bringing a new child? But I don't have enough authority. Have you learned this too? You've integrated really quickly. Come with me, Rotom. This girl is a special case. Let her in. As the big boss, Quinn still has the ability to decide this matter. At Quinn's request, the electronic door Rotom opened the door. Don't run around, little girl. You don't have any authority at all. If you run around, be careful of being electrocuted to ashes. Mahaha. Brother Quinn, don't scare her. I brought you a lot of cigars that are special to the kingdom of chickens. You're welcome, but I'm not kidding. People without authority should not run around. Electrocuting to ashes is definitely an exaggeration, but if it really sets off an alarm, it will definitely be punished. In the office on the top floor, Bakura saw many unscientific creatures for the first time. The previous Rotom could be regarded as a special mechanical intelligence, but Swampert and Manaphy were different. Lord Arceus, this is a child I adopted. She is the user of the superhuman luck fruit. She helps me a lot, and is very reliable. It's good that you can trust her. Yamato, take her and Manaphy out to play, and get her a temporary ID card. Okay, Godfather, leave it to me. She would still leave obediently when there was something important to do. As she closed the door, the implementation of the plan was discussed in the room. Lord Arceus, here are the relevant documents and treatment reports. Everything is ready. The nun has also been notified. Quinn handed over the corresponding things. The preparations have been basically completed during this period. Tesoro, what about you? The plan has already started. We can start the action after the news ferments. Very good. Then send a message to Morgans. You have to work hard to finish these things first. As you say, you have given me and Stella a new life. A little hard work is nothing. As he said that, Tesoro looked at his watch. At this time, Stella has already started. The news needs a condition to be detonated. They did not intend to rely entirely on Morgan's newspapers, but planned to start from the women's circle. At this time, on an island near the Red Earth continent, a salon for noble ladies had already begun. At this time, Stella had lost her original identity as a slave, and appeared in the eyes of everyone as a popular rising star. Miss Stella, watch your step. A big-headed man who looked like Doraemon walked in front of Stella. She and Tesoro had absolute trust, and would not doubt each other's interpersonal relationships. This man was named Tanaka, another subordinate of Tesoro, and also a part-time bodyguard for Stella. The superhuman type piercing fruit ability user can pass through all inanimate objects, and can also take other people through with him, which is very suitable for this environment. In addition, the cat boss also followed Stella. Almost all the women present brought a cat. This was the theme of this salon. Stella soon found a few acquaintances. Looking at the platinum lead wine glass in her hand and some platinum lead tabla on the table, she was also ready to act according to the plan. Chapter 425, the headline news that was overthrown. Stella, this way. A seemingly ordinary woman invited her. Although the people in this banquet hall were of similar age, there were also people with ordinary looks, because the reason for entering and leaving here was not appearance, but family background. They were either wives of some high-ranking officials or daughters of prominent families, and most of them were well educated. Red-eyed monsters or snobs who looked down on others were extremely rare here. Those who came here were not fools. On the surface, this was just an ordinary salon, but in fact, it was a private interpersonal communication. Today's one-time encounter may come in handy in the future. Even if they don't like it in their hearts, they have learned to play along. The women who gathered in groups of 3 or 2 represented the factions behind them. Stella naturally represented Tesoro. As the general manager of the giant 100 Beasts fruit, which suddenly appeared in recent years, he can be said to have attracted a lot of attention. In particular, he also worked part-time as a singer and often did jobs that were in the spotlight. After professional vocal training, he was also famous for his talent in this area. This was the most special thing about his entertainment company. The people he promoted were himself and Stella. There were many people who wanted to climb into his bed, but they all failed. No one could shake Stella's position in his heart. That was the white moonlight that appeared in his heart at the darkest moment of his life. A touch of light gave him new motivation in life, so some people who wanted to do business with him were taking the wife route, trying to indirectly influence Tesoro through Stella. Some people also had dangerous thoughts, so now Stella is accompanied by Tanaka, a special bodyguard, and Xiaobei, the cat boss, whose seemingly ordinary claws were stained with blood. They all had cats of different kinds around them. Before Stella came, these cats did not get along very well. Some strange cats were still staring at each other. Some cats were still locked in cages. It was obvious that their owners did not usually keep cats, but just bought one temporarily for the salon. However, with the appearance of Xiaobei, all the cats meowing in the cage and outside stopped their original actions, and several cats that had been disciplined by it had huddled into a ball. Your Xiaobei is still so obedient. I can't find its breed. It's too rare. Tesoro said it's a rare breed on a rare animal island. It's normal that it's rare. This is the source of the cat boss's identity. Xiaobei also has a gold chain on his head, which is connected to the ruby on his head. This luxurious dress is very popular in this circle. It's too rare. My Xiaomi is about to give birth. Do you want to let them try? It depends on their own wishes. Xiaobei is very independent. This is not the first time that a cat wants to breed with Xiaobei, but as the cat boss, it doesn't look down on those ordinary cats. It just curls up on the sofa and licks its paws, and its eyes occasionally look at people approaching Stella. Let's talk about it later. Today, the people here seem to have come up with some new things. They are made by your company. Unlike the food on Cake Island, which focuses more on taste, I don't know if the food here is delicious, but it looks so good that people can't afford it. The next topic is familiar to women. It's basically business flattery, talking about some black materials of people who have fallen, and Stella also found her opportunity. One of the uses of platinum lead is as a sweetener. Platinum lead that is beaten into fine powder looks shiny, like edible gold foil. It is regarded as a very expensive condiment by the upper class. If you don't have platinum lead at a banquet, you will be looked down upon. And it is indeed harmless when eaten. It will not remain in the human body like when smelting, but will be excreted normally. This is the point that those researchers can't understand. The properties of platinum lead are really strange. I heard that something big happened in Freffens recently, and the price of platinum and lead in the market has become expensive. I heard it was an infectious disease or something, and it seems that many people died. Stella, what are you doing? When some people were waving sugar powder mixed with platinum and lead, Stella took out a small spray bottle and sprayed it upwards. Don't you know? I heard that it's not an infectious disease over there, but platinum and lead poisoning, which is poisonous. And those who get sick will have white spots all over their bodies, and their faces will be broken. She also deliberately exaggerated some facts to increase their fear. Although they haven't produced any evidence, they have stopped their work and even hesitated when looking at the knives and forks made of platinum and lead. It may not be a problem to eat it, but it will definitely be fine if you don't eat it. Everyone cares about their face. At this time, Stella continued to use platinum and lead as if no one was around. Didn't you say that this thing is poisonous? Yes, this is a special medicine, specially used to deal with platinum and lead problems. You won't be afraid if you use this. The plan went on as usual, and there was another person cooperating with her, the wife of the man that Tesoro bribed a while ago. The problem of platinum and lead left seeds in such an ordinary salon. As long as there is an opportunity, these seeds will germinate completely. And the person who holds that opportunity is now having people work overtime to print newspapers. Let everyone work harder. Although it is a temporary revision, I believe in your ability. Morgans was standing on the table, holding the intelligence he had just received to encourage his employees. He did not check the authenticity of the matter, because those photos and intelligence information were too perfect. Even if they were fake, these were enough to make most people believe it. There is no mosaic here. The bodies burned by flames, the soldiers wearing chemical protective suits stained with blood, the doctors and patients who fell to the ground, and the people who took pictures are like invisible people. The technical level is already the same as the photographer of the bounty order. If it weren't for the unimaginable skills of the photographers in this world, this photo would be enough for the approaching science team to shoot a special for the whole year. President, isn't this news a little too explosive? Wahahaha, what nonsense are you talking about? It has to be explosive to release it. This is big news. Human greed has destroyed an entire country. This is what can attract attention. Although there was no mention of the world government's exploration of mineral deposits, the remaining news was enough to make the surrounding citizens feel insecure. But President, what about the other news? Look at this person. His new song is said to be on the headlines. You promised him last time. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.